You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
Help, come and put a hand, come and wipe away the blight and see what the plight that befall the man of this land. What's going on here? I would like to know why the whole world is in a turmoil. So it look as if we fire God from the job and give the work to the Beelzebub. Man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The people have to never like understand. The devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The people will never like understand, like if Satan in control of running the land. Hey man, oh man. It's only wars and rumors of wars, incurable disease go from sea to seas and they happen without a cause. Strange phenomena now happen everywhere. The callousness of this world have the world in fear. Politics and weaponry have taken its toll. They have the whole world out of control. Man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The thing that happen here, well I can understand like it. Oh yes man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The thing that happen here, well I can understand like it. Satan in control of running the land. Oh man. Get at ease, we turn to religion, but then in our quest to do our best we end up in real confusion. Some religious leaders so phony and vain, allow religious morals to go down the drain. Their materialism make them feel them is Lord, robbing the world in the name of God. Man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The thing of going on here, well I can understand that the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The things that happen here, well I can understand. Like you see that in control of running the land. Oh man. Let's take control. Let's reconstruct the world. Sift out all parasites, phonies and blights. What is wrong? Let us make it right. Stop this social, moral and religious decay. Our world wasn't meant to be this way. For heaven's sake, let's not fall for the seat. Put God back in the driver's seat. Man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The thing going on here, well I can understand. The devil have a hand in running the land. Man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The thing what's going on here, man, I can understand. Like if Satan in control of running the land. Oh man. Oh man. The devil have a hand. The devil have a hand. Oh yes. In running the land. The devil have a hand. The devil have a hand. The understand. Like the Satan in control, I run in we land. We quarrel and we fight. We ain't doing right. Oh yes, the devil have a hand in running the land. We forget what's good, not doing the things we should. Ah, yes man, the Satan in control, I run in we land. I can't understand why. I can't understand. Oh yes man. Corrupt teachers, phony preachers, bogus leaders, Satan workers. Oh yes man. I can't understand. Well I can't understand. Satan in control, I run in the land. Place of worship, show no friendship. Only money. That's all they see. I can't understand. Come on, man. Yes, man. I mean, the devil have a hand in running the land, Lord. The devil have a hand in running the land, man. The thing about the mirror like I understand, like Satan in control of running the land.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE LP 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
Trinidad, oh Trinidad, times are rough, times are hard. Your sons and daughters every day, leaving home, going away. But those of us who remain frustrated like hell, some of us going insane, some locked in a cell. Wake up from your slumber, our future is in danger. Too much one thing is good for nothing. If you have a honey that can't get better, if you plan with all of your family, making errors continuously, it's the thing to do. Here care for you. Your Caribbean sisters watching all your blunders. They say you too long with him, they condemn you openly. They say you are stagnated, making no progress. Your children are frustrated, your home in a mess. He making love to China and leave you here to suffer. Too much one thing is good for nothing. If you have a honey that can't get better, if your man old and falling on his face, get a younger fella to take his place. He ain't care for you, don't care who's blue. You are grateful, yes I know, for things he did long ago. But how long can gratitude last? Oh Trinidad, forget the past. With someone new it might be rough, but isn't it now? I'm telling you, we have had enough. We'll make out somehow. Change is inevitable. Don't sit on your bottom and wait for a miracle. Listen, too much one thing is good for nothing. If you have a honey that can't get better, for 20 years now we holding on. Oh fella, you get old and worn. It's the thing to do. Find someone new. I care for you. It's the thing to do.
Yes, 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 yes. Let me say a special hello to all the WZYE 95.9 FM listeners. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Had to turn down the volume there a little bit. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We come to you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. That's 7 to 10 p.m. Let me bring in 1/3 of the DAG Triplets, no other than Diana, Waveney, Stormy, The Storm, Benskin, McDonald, boy.
Yeah, boy. Everybody kung fu fighting, slap sharing.
Yeah, give me a little more volume now. Like Stormy, turn down your volume. Or
Stormy, mess with my equipment, man. Stormy no better than that.
Stormy, bite up your volume. Or
All right. Now better?
yeah. I hear you a little better.
Yeah. Everybody kung fu fighting, slap sharing.
Yeah. E. Marshall Tony Nisbet, boy, Commissioner in Newark. Welcome.
Good evening, village family. It's a wonderful day. It's a wonderful evening. I'm happy to be here as
All right.
always.
Well, let me put on my headphones, eh? I just try to see if I could go without the headphones, but I think I'd see better when I had the headphones on. Only know it is.
Let's
Yeah, I
see
hear you
who's
good. I hear you good. I hear you. Just because I don't have.
let's see who came in the village first today.
Oh, good. Well, you know that
Kish,
is go already.
Huh?
Do you know that is go?
kish.
Yeah, there's
He's
only one
came
or
in first.
there's only one or two person that's come first.
Woman is boss.
Yeah.
And Nadia.
No, Nadia Alex tonight.
Woman is
What?
boss. That's why
Yeah.
that's why Will Smith went up and did what he had to do.
Correct. No, they don't call. They ain't calling. They ain't calling that a slap the boy. No, they calling it the Will Smith now.
That's right.
It's a Will Smith. Hey,
That's,
don't ever come and be a Will Smith,
that's
Watch
right.
yourself,
That's
So,
right.
yeah, Takesha was first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Nadia was seventh. Takesha come 8, 9, 10. Nadia was 11. Takesha was 12, 13, 14. Takesha and Nadia just run away with the thing. They just run away with it.
Yeah, we lost another great one, Blacks boy.
Yeah, boy. Correct is
Mm.
right. I have a little dedication for him there in the background.
Okay. All right.
Let me see. Oh yeah, we had to talk about that slap because I mean Will Smith, because we have many varied opinions on the Will Smith, and we go get into the Will Smith tonight because of course we in America earlier.
Yep.
So that is the talk of the tongue, eh?
Yep.
That is the talk of the tongue.
And I have my opinion. Tommy, you have your opinion. Gary have his. Y'all in the chat could put y'all own. And Anselm have his professor's own. I have my own.
Mm.
Yep.
I tell you, there's all kind of opinions there tonight,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
And before we go into it, I want to say something, right? Andy Williams today on radio. I don't want to really go into this, because you see in Trinidad and Tobago, a fish doesn't rotten from the tail. I tell all you that. I tell all you over. Anyway, let me do the thing in the chat first, before I get into that, because I might get into that. And so Takesha said, what party could make it right? Somehow when these politicians get in power, they seem to forget what they was about. out there for, and only study to fatten their families, friends, and themselves pockets. All right.
I see the Prime Minister wearing one of Ulrich's suit he made.
Yeah. You went up in Chumaka Club until the girl Rick make him that suit.
Oh my God.
Live on the web. So the Syrian and Chinese gaining from this country. What you all gain from living in Trinidad besides house and car to own. Gary Mabia, good evening. Vonnie Roberts, good evening. Diana, oh no, that's Diana Benskin right there. Good evening. Who touched Rowley's soul? We will come back to that. Troy Smith, good evening. You're inside. Joan Jarubé, you're inside, Joan. Watax. You're inside. You're inside. Yeah, Troy, good night to you as well. Joan. Albert Montano, boy. All the way out in is Ontario, Alberton? Ontario?
I don't know, Mississauga.
Some whatever part of Canada you are. Thing. Okay, June, Nadia. Oh God. All right. Nadia said that. Oh God, Troy Smith started already, boy. Troy Smith said, some tomorrow is a big religious holiday, and I broke. Where he find 10 million from to give the Baptists. You know, funny, I had to say, when I hear that, I thought the same thing to her, to be honest with you. First, good night. I thought the same thing. Tommy, what about you?
He's trying to be politically correct, I imagine.
Yeah. Black songs is copyrighted. Ronnie Roberts said Joan have been asking Wall Street for some time ago why he can't get some of his P&M friends to get in the program.
You can't make anybody come on a program.
No, but Diana,
you can only ask.
But Diana, we had Junior Regrello, the mayor of San Fernando.
Yeah,
we had the mayor of Port of Spain.
Yeah.
We had the councillor from Pleasantville. We had Darian Marcel. Right?
Okay.
We had the former Minister of Finance.
Okay.
Mrs. Teixeira. We had a few people, but you know,
not the current, the incumbent ain't. They're not coming in here yet. The fire too hot for them, and they have something to hide.
You can't make people come into the village, but you know when you come into the village, you are ready to answer questions.
Yeah, look Gary Griffith coming. He stand up to the heat.
Look, Gary Griffith come and call all kind of name. He still come.
He stand up to the heat.
What? Albert Montano said, Albert Montano said Dr. Rolly needs anger management and psychiatric evaluation to see his good. Albert boy, good. You know what I'm saying? Good. Albert, oh God, Albert boy. Albert, yeah, rest in peace, blacks. I agree with that, boy. Funny Robert say it looked like they dumped Wall Street from the gang. Which gang is that, boy?
But up here they talking about another job again. Me taking no more job. I'm not taking no more job.
I ain't paying no attention to that.
Nope.
I ain't paying no attention.
Nope. Not taking no more.
Kito's take over Mr. Brown job. What is that one? I don't understand that one. You know. Who's Mr. Brown?
Amy Brown.
Oh, Amy Brown. Okay. I don't understand that. Whoa, look.
I ain't going nowhere for no more job. No more. It's done. Not sticking me no more. But I find he was getting on kind of off key in this weird looking suit he put on. Like he playing job mass. I don't know who tell you to put on that suit.
Lana said we should allow Trinbagonians to buy land, build, and let foreigners spend their money here and let that money flow in TNT. And I ain't gonna see that no time soon.
Because it's not safe.
Capiza, welcome.
You think I want to come there, Lana? You can't lay down your house and sleep. You can't sit on your yard at night and lime. In night time, you gotta lock up like you're in jail. No.
Lana asks the question, why do we allow foreigners to buy up our land and build buildings to rent while the money goes abroad and not spent in TNT?
It's
Well,
expanded. They pay people to maintain the building,
you
and they have to
tuned in
pay the
then.
light bill, and
But
some money
is it true that you can't just go and buy land just so in Ghana? You had to marry a Guyanese or something?
they call it. I don't know. There's some countries have land by investment or citizenship by investment. It's called. So I don't know if it
I,
falls under there.
I thought Tobago has something like that.
And I know Dominica has something like that. Citizenship by investment.
Now, somebody just sent me a video, and I go play the video to show you the mindset of Trinidadians. I'm gonna play it to just show you the mindset of Trinidadians, because you see, we have a tendency to have selective memories. We just select what we want to remember. No, and that's part of our problem, you know. That's part of our problem. We are too selective in our memories, and when we should try as much as possible to be balanced, you know, it ain't easy being balanced, you know, because you had to put your party before country.
It's call
Right?
on this party thing.
Yeah, you had to put party before country, and I want to okay, yeah, let me send this video to myself. Somebody just sent it to me, and I want to play it. And the reason why I want to play it is just to tell you how our mindset regarding certain things, right? We just want to ignore certain things, right? And then look at certain things, right? You know that song tell you certain things that remind me of certain things? Remember that song, Ghana? You don't remember that song?
Yep.
You remember? Hey, you don't sing that song, boy? Funny sing that song.
Certain things remind
Remember
you of
that?
things.
Certain things that remind me of certain things. He put it more in a comedic song, but that's what he was trying to tell people, you know? And let me get this thing here. And in the meanwhile, I want to play something else for you too. Dr. Rowley all of a sudden is talking about reparations. Did you hear that? Huh?
Oh, he joined the bandwagon too?
Oh, Diana, oh God, your wife's too bad, girl. You're too wise, you know. Where's this one? This one here. Let me play it for you. Let me play that video for you. And a few days ago, the transformational leader in
Tobago.
out of Tobago talked about reparations. So, oh God, boy.
But
Innovation.
isn't that what the Jamaica leader was talking with the royalties that visited recently also?
But years ago, Sir Hilary Beckles talked about that. He's the one that started that bandwagon, that mantra.
Yeah,
I'm
but
trying to get him on the program. I sent them over email. Yeah, he talked about that, and he also talked about they came and they laid down their empirical plans and stuff, and no support, and they reaped whatever they had to, and they left, and then we had to come along and build ourselves up, right? So yeah, we are owed a lot of stuff. We should be able to go to their university, Oxford and Yale and Cambridge and stuff for free. Once you have the capacity. Yeah, we should be able to go there for free. Get me started.
for free? For
Oh
free?
yeah. Oh yeah. We
this
should how you mean we should be able to go there and Yale and Harvard here? Who you think built up these places here?
why? The
Our
English,
ancestor. Hello.
the
Our
English can do
ancestors.
nothing to you. Them do anything to
I mean,
you? What them do to you?
how you mean they ain't do nothing to me? All
No, they do
right.
nothing to you.
Oh,
Why
they
they
ain't do
need
nothing to me.
why you
Okay.
supposed to go to them school for free?
Oh,
They ain't do nothing to you?
they ain't do nothing to me. All right, but they do
No.
to my great grandmother though.
But that's in the past. That's gone. That's
Well,
over with.
no. And their systems kept our people down for 400 years, kept their knee in our necks for 400 years while they build their empires on the slave, the labor of our people. Don't get me answer. Don't let me go and pour a drink, yeah?
No
Okay.
idea where you pour no drink. Where you
All
pour a
right.
drink for. But I
Don't get
want
me
to
back.
tell you.
Don't get me back. Don't want to be able to tell me. And the places are all built up. We, especially in the Caribbean, we should be going there for free. All the universities, all about the place. You have the capacity, the intellectual capacity to handle the workload. Give us scholarships and let us go. Oh yeah, that's where we should be going. Go. I am all for that. And all these Yale and Harvard here and all these, we think build up them places. The labor of all my ancestors. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Probably
All
a
right.
cousin of mine. She worked hard in the plantation. Look.
So here it is. Here it is. I want you guys to take a listen to this, right? This is the transformational leader speaking truth to power, and then the reactionary leader coming after. Hold on, listen.
The whole Caribbean talking about reparations now. Now that the slave owners and the descendants of rapists.
All right. Come on, man. Like then what we here we go. Like then what we played on.
Caribbean, taking photos up and down the place.
Over the last few years, regional leaders like Pro-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Hilary Beckles, and Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, have been calling for reparations for the atrocities of slavery. On Monday, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley added his voice to the call. Speaking at the spiritual Shouter Baptist Liberation Day celebrations hosted by the People's National Movement, the Prime Minister said,
"Recently, I was very pleased to hear Prince William say that he acknowledged that slavery was wrong and that the British government, the British people, have some responsibility in that piece of unforgettable history."
He indicated he was pleased a member of the royal family spoke on the issue of reparations.
But tonight I want to say to Prince William, having said that, I believe you, but I'll believe you more if you do what you must now do, which is to offer some reparation to the people who were wronged.
Dr. Rowley announced Cabinet has decided to give the spiritual Shouter Baptist community another piece of land.
You have always wanted a cemetery. The government that I led granted 10 acres of land at Milton Road, Couva, for the establishment of the first memorial ground and crematorium to the spiritual Baptist people.
Cabinet previously granted 10 acres of land near the Atto Golden Stadium in Couva for construction of a cathedral and headquarters for the community. Dr. Rowley indicated that the building is 90% complete. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
Oh my.
So what happened there?
Answer. Tell me what tell me what maybe my head is screwed wrong. I'm a throw, the medicine I take. So they give you 10 acres of land for a cemetery. Okay, that's progress.
Oh God!
That's all. Hello.
No, but I want to look at the bigger picture.
Hello, I am a poet, and that is how I think. You give me 10 acres of land for a cemetery. I don't talk.
But if they ask for that, and they get it, if that's what they ask for and they get it, why should that be a problem?
10 acres, so that's all you Father God,
but if that's what they ask for, if that's what they ask for, and they get it. But the bigger question is this, right? Lord. The bigger question is this. People were calling for reparations just yesterday, the day
No.
before that. Dr. Red just had an
Yeah.
epiphany. They just had an epiphany about
Yeah.
reparations. All of a sudden, you listen,
Yeah.
you hear the little transformational leader in Tobago talking about reparations. And all of a sudden, you want to come and talk about reparations now. But look, miss me with that, eh? Miss me with that. Miss me with that. I don't want to hear from you on no reparations. You come now to talk about the reparations. You know, in global business, they have a thing called the bandwagon effect. What is bandwagon effect? When you see a fella like Warren Buffett, if Warren Buffett buy a stock, people know Warren Buffett. Whenever he buy a stock, there's a great possibility that stock is going to go up, and traders jump on the bandwagon, and that stock just keep going up and up and up, right? And that's why I tell you, there's difference between a transformational leader and a reactionary leader.
Let me tell you how reparations is work. They need to come and invest in the hospital system, build up the hospital, be into the education system, arrange for scholarships for children, build into the road network system, put money inside a account for children who want to go and study engineering, wherever they want to go. That is what all that is reparation. They need to go buy. They need to buy land and give it to people. The British that way, hey, give it to the citizen. You want me to talk? That's reparations there, huh? And all they're living in their big palaces and castles and lady this and madam this and dame that. Please,
yeah.
Please, give me a break. I said a long time ago when the Pope came to New York. And he was in, and they allowed us to go visit. I told my co-worker the Pope can kiss my behind. That's it. Go ahead.
Diana, you ain't gonna see the Pope, baby.
Why I want to go and see the Pope for?
Nah.
They were instrumental in providing ships to bring my family and put them in slavery. And they had a fellow named Bartholomew de las Casas. He said to enslave my people because we dark and we had no soul. So who I going and see the Pope for? I went and see Mandela. I don't want to see the Pope. I said the Pope can kiss the back of my head. And there some people were offended by that. I don't want to see the Pope. Why I want to see the Pope for? He ain't doing nothing for me and my people. But enslave me. Hey.
We come back to the Pope. Let's bring in our first guest. Is that Shazeeda? Do I have that correct?
Yes, it is, sir.
Shazeeda, welcome to Indie Village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Of
Thank
course,
you
it's
very much.
DAG. That's DAG Triplet. The D is considered to be Diana. Diana is the Storm. I am Anselm of Wall Street.
I realize why you refer to her as the Storm.
Oh Lord, Miss Mohammed, I'm a nice person, you know.
Yes, you are. I love your spirit. I love your vibes.
I'm
a nice lady, you know.
Yeah, she's a nice storm.
Don't mash
that's
the
one of them
corn,
storm when they say like, hey, all of that storm coming in. And then when the storm passes, they go say, boy, if I don't know, that storm was going to hit too hard. I would keep long roof or I knew long roof better and so on. But also the G is for Gary. He's considered to be the phantom. And then we have another young man by the name of Tony. Tony's a commissioner here in Newark, New Jersey. Welcome to the village to the DAG Triplets and WZYE 95.9 FM.
Thank you very much. You and a pleasant good night. Thank you for having me again. But first and foremost, I would just like your permission to extend greetings to our esteemed brothers and sisters of the spiritual Shouter Baptist community. I want to wish them a joyful and safe spiritual Shouter Baptist Liberation Day 2022.
Absolutely, and we concur 100% with that as well.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I just practice Bahia faith though. Gary gone.
I'm here.
The pretty lady chase.
Welcome,
Gary.
sister. Welcome. Thank you for taking the time.
We want to apologize for Gary because every once in a while his wife takes away his phone from him.
Okay.
Yeah,
we will excuse him.
Yes, he takes away his instrument, so to speak.
And I have to say that a person's instruments is of most importance.
And you know, Miss Mohammed,
Correct is right.
I graduated from St. Augustine Girls High School under the tutelage of Anna Mahace. So you know where I get my fighting spirit from.
Of course.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
said, you're a storm to reckon with. I have no complaints about that.
And I graduated from Tranquility Government Secondary School. Yeah. All right. How about that, Diana?
Yeah, he run away. But anyway, go ahead.
So, is it Mrs. or Miss?
It is Mrs.
All right, all right. So you know, we in foreign, we like to respect individuals whenever they come into the village, and we like to give them the due respect. So, is it okay if I call you, or we call you Mrs. Mohammed?
Well, I like to go by Mrs. Khan Mohammed, but that is fine. If
No,
it's
that's fine.
easier
That's
for
fine.
you, that is fine.
No. We can. Khan Mohammed is fine with us. So, Mrs. Khan Mohammed, just tell us. You know, you are a counselor, correct?
Yes.
Tell us what constituency you are from, how long you have been a counselor.
Okay. Well, I belong to the constituency of Pointe-a-Pierre. My electoral district is actually Claxton Bay, Pointe-a-Pierre. This would be my third term, 9 years serving as a local government councillor under the UNC banner and under my esteemed political leader, Kamla Prasad Bisasa. So I'm a proud councillor to serve under her.
Okay, so do you have any aspirations to become an MP?
Yes, we all hope to always, in life, you always aim for higher. And yes, I do have aspirations to become the MP of my area one day, but I will continue for as long as my present MP is there. I will always support him. I will be just support him and work along him along the way.
You know, we had several councillors in here, and a lot of us here in the United States are learning. We Trinidadians, Trinbagonians. Diana is a Trinbagonian because she's a Bajan too.
Yes.
She tells people that, you know, her family is from Barbados, her mother and father is Bajan, and she was born in Trinidad.
Tunapuna.
In Tunapuna, yeah. And being that she's a Bajan, you know, they take away her ID card and she can't get one back. And she's been begging almost everybody that come on the program.
I ain't beg nobody for no ID card. I applied the right way and they're not giving back because of the corruption. But the next time I land in Trinidad, the storm will kick up. Don't worry. I'm going and see Gavin Nicholas. You wait.
Well, Mom, you have to be careful these days how you refer to countries like Barbados and Guyana, because I hear people getting buff for speaking about those countries.
Well, I'm a Bajan, so I cannot deny my roots. Barbados recognizes me as a citizen because of my descent. I'm not going to deny my Bajan roots for nobody.
Fully agree.
Yeah, so a counselor, and as I said, as we are learning more about a counselor is like a person who sort of assists the MP in that people may come to the counselor before they go to the MP. Is that the normally, you know, hierarchy?
Well, are actually the first responders. They are on the ground. They are the first persons when something in the event of something happening. They are the first responders. They are the first persons you go to. They are the first persons. They are the persons on the ground, or the more reachable persons. I want to say that the burgesses or the residents can access in seeking assistance. And yes, the councillors are there to work along with the MPs in representing the burgesses.
Now, how long is the term of a councillor?
Sorry?
How long is the term of a councillor?
3 years.
3 years. So every 3 years. And
yes.
So councillors are selected or elected when? I don't know. They have to run for an office, or are they selected by the party?
Well, they are you file nominations, of course, right? You declare that you are interested in running for the position as councillor. You have a screening committee. Your party screens you. There's the selection part your party selects you to represent them, and then on the day of you campaign, then on the day of the election, you are elected.
Now, is your constituency where Paria is located?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. So tell us a little bit about that, and how do you play some sort of role in that situation there, and with the four divers who lost their
Well,
life?
first of all, I want to display again my sympathy and condolences to the families of the four divers. And all I really want to say right now is that I am disappointed. I am disappointed in the company, Paria, being state-owned and whatnot, a very esteemed company. I am disappointed in how you treated your divers, how you treated your people, how you treated the families of the divers. I want to say that personally for me, it is murder, but I would refrain from publicly saying that, although I know I just said it. But we will await the verdict on that. But I am really disappointed in how they treated these people. These are your own people. I mean, look at it from a humanitarian aspect. While these people were going through these trying times, these days, waiting to see if their families were alive or not, you could have had them in better circumstances, in a better area, given the conditions of the place and whatnot. I am disappointed in that. I am disappointed in the fact that you didn't keep the families close by, alerting them as to what is happening, keep giving them updates.
So it seemed to many that Trinidad and Tobago have moved on to the next incident, which I think the latest one in Trinidad and Tobago is Trinidad versus Guyana, or Trinidad versus Guyana and Barbados, so to speak, but more Trinidad versus Guyana. It seemed that we always get something where we move on to the other thing that's more in the front burner. And then lately, the newest thing now is what happened yesterday with the Prime Minister and his maiden speech as a pastor at the Shelter Baptist event.
Well, I want to say that the people of Pointe-a-Pierre and in the other constituencies as well, we have not forgotten the families. We have not forgotten the divers. Every week, there is a candlelight vigil being held in the Pointe-a-Pierre area by various persons, members of the family, colleagues, whatnot. So we have not forgotten them. We lend support, but we know we have to allow the law to play a part now, and allow that space then, or for somebody to rule on what is happening. But we have not forgotten them. We still meet with the families, we pray with them, we share in their grief.
Yeah, I think many of us were saddened that those four divers were left to basically die, down there. And I mean, we can imagine what type of experience.
Those are persons from my electoral district, from my constituencies. Some of them I know, the families I know. These are people I meet frequently, and it really breaks our heart. It broke my heart. It brought tears to my eyes to see these families going through this grieving, and to know that a human like you and I, or human beings like you and I, were responsible for the death of these people. I really pray to God that these people are brought to justice, that they pay for what they have done to these families. I mean, they took away a father, they took away fathers, they took away husbands, they took away sons. All these men who died had little children, they had families. How can you live with yourself? after this? How could you get up and look at your families and tell them, I love you? How can you celebrate family events to know that you are responsible for breaking up 4 families out there? And not forgetting Christopher Budram, to the lone survivor. God alone knows what he is going through, the trauma that he lives on a daily basis, even blaming himself for the deaths of his colleagues, his brothers, whom he promised to come back and help. He alone knows what he is going through. And who is there for him? The company? No.
Can I ask you something, Mrs. Khan Mohammed?
Sure, madam.
Has the Prime Minister reached out personally to these families yet?
No. As far as I know, no.
To these little children?
No. You have opposition members. You have our political leader, my political leader. You have strangers reaching out to the families. But no, we have not seen the Prime Minister of the country reach out to the families.
What about the Minister of Energy, Stuart Young?
Oh, Mr. Young, I think, made some grand appearance for about a few minutes on this Saturday after the event happened. He said he came to give them a surprise, and that was all you heard of him. And I think that was all we saw of him.
It's so. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in your constituency there. What's going on in your constituency?
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about being a counselor and how I became a counselor. My passion has always been community work, has always been helping persons, serving persons, whatnot. And that is why I positioned myself or volunteered to be the screen for a counselor. I thought I could have made a difference in helping my burgesses, in bringing assistance to them and resources and whatnot. And it was going fine. From 2013 to 2015, it was fine because through the cooperation under the PP government, we were getting funding, we were getting releases and to help our burgesses. So Claxome Point of View was moving out from the dirt roads and the earthen drains into concrete box drains, paved roads, whatnot. So you were seeing infrastructural development. You were seeing something taking place. Lo and behold, a different government, a different administration came into government. Yes, we get allocations, but we have stopped in getting the releases as we should. From $5 million to $6 million under goods and services, where we can assist our burgesses, we get $140,000. We get $500,000. This year, we were fortunate to get an allocation. Now, I haven't said release, allocation of $1.4 million under goods and services. But here's the trick in it, right? In my corporation, we have 14 councillors, meaning 14 electoral districts. So if you take that $1.4 million and you divide it among the 14 councillors, it would give you $100,000 per electoral district, right? So in my electoral district, I have like approximately 13,000 plus burgesses. If I were to take that 100,000 divided by my 13,000 burgesses, give or take, a burgess then would be getting assistance with what, $7.69? That's what my burgess is worth. What could I give them with $7.65 if you were to put a dollar sign or a figure amount next to a burgess? What can $100,000 do for me in my electoral district when I have over 300 roads, traces, and streets? When I have numerous drainage water courses to maintain and clean? Tell me, what could that do? And that is just on paper, right? $1.4 million on paper. We have not gotten that releases yet, and we are halfway into this financial year. When are we going to get it? How am I going to serve my burgesses? Tell me. It is a challenge. It is a challenge now being a councillor under this administration.
Now, Mrs. Khan Mohammed, what about the Pleasant Park area of your district?
Well,
How are they
Pleasant Park,
doing under your watch?
they're not doing well at all because Pleasant Park really falls under former Petrotrin heritage, whatever you want to name it, right? That is a development that was formed long time Texaco Trinidad days, where I think lands were given or sold to their employees. So it has not, it's termed as a private development still because it has not been handed over to a corporation or to the state or whatnot, right, for us to maintain. So our budget allocations doesn't allow us to do any infrastructural work in Pleasant Park. But being the local health authority, we have assisted with cleaning the drains, water courses, picking up the garbage, sorry, those sorts of things. But as infrastructure wise, we through the corporation, we cannot help them. But their complaints have been increasing on a daily basis, and it really hurts. It pains me to be telling these people, my burgesses, that I cannot help you. You fall under Petrotrin, you fall under heritage. For the longest while, it has been months upon months. We have been trying, my office, the corporation, the chairman's office, have been trying to secure a meeting with persons from that company to discuss Pleasant Sparkle.
So wait, let me understand this, right? There is an area where you are the counselor, right? And
Yeah.
you are able to help them because they are owned by Petrotrin or Paria. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Former Petrotrin.
Former Petrotrin.
PSEL, Palaseco Agriculture Enterprise Limited, they are actually the guardians of those lands, that property there. So they are responsible in their I know when Petrotrin was running, they had a budget allocation where they would oversee or implement infrastructural works in there. But that was not happening.
Wow, that's interesting. But I thought that when if there was a Burgess in your constituency or in your community constituency that and you're the counselor, you basically had responsibility for whatever was part of your
That
Burgess.
our challenges, that's part of the red tape and the challenges we as councillors undergo, because not all jurisdiction falls under. Remember, we are aligned or assigned with the corporation, so we have to really follow their rules and regulations as well. So they don't hold responsibility or jurisdiction for every part of the region. For instance, you have minor roads and you have the main roads. The main roads fall under the jurisdiction of Ministry of Works or Highways Division. Same thing with water courses. You have your minor water courses and you have your major, like your rivers, your major water courses, which falls under Drainage Division. So our burgesses don't really, or let's say residents, people on the whole, don't really understand the red tape or the jurisdictional issues that we have via the corporation. It doesn't mean that a councillor cannot represent you via Ministry of Works. You know, we take those requests and those complaints and we go to Ministry of Works. We go to the relevant agencies and request on behalf of our burgesses, because that is what we are there to do, make representation on behalf of our burgesses. It's just that lately, over the last few years, now when we take these requests or these complaints and go to the relevant agencies, they are complaining, they are crying out, there is no funding, we can't do this, we can't do that. Now, how are we supposed to go back and tell our burgesses that when you are supposed to be the one responsible for carrying out these works? So it makes our job as a councillor harder. Do you know what we have resorted to in Cooper Corporation, myself and my colleagues, where drainage or road repairs are concerned? We have been reduced to asking our burgesses to get together, to pile together their resources, funding, probably a couple families on the streets, the neighbors, whatnot, and buy the material. And through the corporation, we will provide the labor and equipment for you. That too is a challenge because we have not been getting the funding, the releases regularly to maintain our equipment. So you tell me how fair it is.
But Mrs. Khan Mohammed, isn't that part of the problem with the system though? In that when one party is in power, if an opposition party owns a corporation, they may want to starve that corporation. And it has been a problem with government comes and government go, and that system should change, because when you are in government, you are the government for all 41 constituencies.
That is how it's supposed to be. Under the People's Partnership, I beg to differ. Under the People's Partnership, all corporations were treated fairly.
Well,
and you can do your
Can you repeat that for him, please?
Under the People's Partnership, all corporations were treated fairly by us.
Well, no, I am not. I am not here to dispute whether it is accurate or inaccurate. But a lot of people may disagree and say no. The same thing that happened that I just spoke about, is that when any party in power, they look after their corporations or their constituencies, and the other constituencies starve.
Well, I want to say that even though we feel victimized in Cuba, we talk brings talk, and you're hearing people, PNM councillors complaining too. Everybody's complaining. The PNM themselves are complaining. So, tell me, what is the purpose of the government of today? Isn't the purpose of the government to help the people, to assist the residents, the burgesses?
Of the people, for
Isn't
the
that
people,
the right
by the people.
of a person? Isn't that the right of an individual to have the basic amenities?
Mrs. Khan
Top of the hour.
Hold 1 minute. Mrs. Khan Mohammed, we got to go for a quick station identification. Stay with us. It's individuals with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We come to you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. That's 7 to 10 p.m. We have with us a councillor, Mrs. Khan Mohammed, councillor in the Pointe-a-Pierre constituency, and she has joined us. So stick and stay, don't go nowhere. It's individuals with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
It's individuals do the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us tonight Mrs. Khan Mohammed. She's a councillor in the Pointe-a-Pierre constituency, and we're having a discussion. So, Tommy, what did you want to ask Mrs. Khan Mohammed?
Mrs. Khan Mohammed, I was wondering if the property tax would assist in some of these ills that we are facing with the funding.
So you're bringing up a new topic here that is a whole new different, leaves room for loads of discussion for our next time. But I want to say at this time, I do not support property tax because of the fact that the Burgess is now coming out from a pandemic. And they cannot afford, one, to put food on their tables. They cannot afford to even buy the basics to send their children back to school right now. So asking them to pay property tax right now, that I do not support. I am sorry.
I understand there's some kind of a gas tax that is collected to fix the roads that people feel that is not being properly utilized to compensate. Am I correct in that aspect?
Well, when that was implemented, clearly they forget to fix the roads in Claxton Bay, Pointe-a-Pierre, in the Pointe-a-Pierre constituency.
So is that just for the Ministry of Works road, or is it for all roads? Gas tax?
All roads right now, I can speak for my constituency, my electoral district is in a deplorable condition because of maybe they forget to pay the taxes like you indicated. But we have not been getting assistance in our roads repairs, our road rehabilitation. Ministry of Works seems to forget that the roads in Claxton Bay, the main road, the Southern Main Road, the Hermitage Main Road exists in Claxton Bay, Pointe-a-Pierre.
Yeah, I was once there on that Soledad Road, and you could almost fall off the road as you enter from
Well,
the
I am
highway.
glad that you brought up Soledad Road because there is a major landslip on the Soledad North Road. And this came about in about 2018. And we had a really nice site visit by the then Minister of Local Government, Kazim Hussein. Minister himself came, his engineers came, persons from the corporation, the CEO, the chairman, the engineer, myself, our MP. A really nice contingency came, looked at it. Promises were made by the minister himself and sorted that out as soon as possible. That was 2018. We're in 2022. The minister has now changed. Minister Kazim Hussein did not live up to his promises. He did not even send a load of oil sand or gravel to help patch up the quarter of the road that residents used to traverse. You have over 371 residents using that road right now, right? The landslip back then was 55 meters long. It is more than that now. Don't talk about the depth. Presently, it is comprising the Mount Pleasant Government Primary School and Masjid Ul Araf. Plus the community, there is a set of residents living right along the landslip here. So it has started to pull down their structures. What is happening there? Yes, it is a corporation's road. Minister Hussein himself said that. He himself admitted after investigations and procuring estimates and whatnot, he himself said it is going to cost approximately $4.5 million to fix. He himself admitted that we could not carry out those works through the corporation. Our funding doesn't extend to so much. And he has forwarded correspondence to his colleague, the Minister of Works and Transport, seeking assistance. To date, nothing has happened, and it is getting worse. The engineer of the Kuba Talpara Regional Corporation visited about 2 weeks ago, and he indicated to me, he says, Councillor, there is nothing we can do anymore. We cannot afford to put any more material on that little portion of the road because the entire thing will collapse. So then you're telling me that very soon I will have to block off that entire road now, preventing over 370 something persons, so 300 plus persons from accessing that road.
You know, Mrs. Khan Mohammed, property tax is a prime example of what I'm talking about, the system in Trinidad and Tobago. On Monday, 21st December 2009, during the last sitting of Parliament, the property tax bill was passed with 22 PNM members voting for the bill and 10 UNC members voting against. On January 1st, 2010, the property tax became law. That same year, the PP promised to axe the tax if they got into office. It was a promise they did not keep. The only change that was made by the PP government during their term was the suspension of the payment of tax for the period January 2010 to December 2015, which the PNM also did when they came into office in 2015 to further suspend the tax to December 2018. So what I'm saying is that PNM, UNC, with respect to the tax, the PP said it was going to axe the tax. And when they came into office, they didn't do anything about it. And the tax just continued along the same way with both parties. So that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that, you know, we talk these big talk that we're going to do this and we're going to do that. When we get into office, we do something totally different. And this is facts here. So I think the partnership had a great opportunity to actually axe the tax. And when they get into office, they did something totally different.
Well, I still maintain what I said before about not supporting property tax right now. My leader would have made her comments, would have given her reasons about the property tax, and I maintain and I stand by my leader. And I cannot see my people, they're suffering. Every day I get numerous phone calls about, Councillor, can you lend us some assistance in providing food? Can you lend us? People come to me asking for money. how could I turn people away? So I have to dip into my pockets and give people. Imagine you have educated, grown persons. I have persons who are senior to me, coming to me with tears in their eyes, begging for a handout with used clothing, handout with food, handout for stuff for their children. How could I sit here and say I support property tax right now when these people can barely even get along day by day?
And not only that, I see it as a draconian measure, where they want to tax you based on how the United States function and referring to the United States as consistently on their reasoning. But we have a different structure here and how we pay
Of
for stuff.
course.
And the taxes are paid. I mean, they pay it for the schools, everything local in the community, the police. The taxes are paid for all these different things. But what I see happening in Trinidad and Tobago is this is an oppressive system. I think that local government reform needs to take place, and also the municipal corporation, all funding for property tax, when collected and if collected, should go to the municipal corporation. And this is what needs to be done before they could even start collecting.
Well, we await the decisions made by this government. But let me ask you something. Show me how this property tax, show me how local government reform is going to fix my landslip right now, how it is going to fix my roads right now, how is it going to feed my burgesses, how it is going to get them employed. And those are the problems that we are going through. Those are the problems my burgesses, the residents of Claxon Bay Point are experiencing on a daily basis. But now, tell me how that is going to help them now.
Well, it may not help. It may not help them now, but you got to start somewhere. And I think, to me, I think the big problem with the property tax is that it's my understanding that if the tax are going to be collected, it's going to go into the consolidated fund, right? And I think that if the tax is going to be collected, the tax should go to that community where the tax is collected in the 41 constituencies, just as we do here in the United States of America. But I think that at some point in time, Trinidad and Tobago, right, is going to have property tax. And I don't think that a person that has a house, right, and they all of a sudden going to charge that person, $5,000 a year. I'm talking about a person in certain type of constituencies in Trinidad and Tobago. If you live in Goodwood Park, right, you're going to pay good taxes, right? But if you live in other communities where your house has less value, you're not going to be paying that large amount in taxes. But to me, the idea is that the taxes should go into the constituency and it shouldn't go into consolidated fund, because when it goes into consolidated fund, the government can use it and do with it as it's pleased.
And then our study corporations will still have to make requests for funding, for releases, and then it will come back to how it is right now. So I agree, but listen, Cuba Tabakit Alparo has a lot of rural communities and electoral districts, right? So you said before there are places where there are communities where persons will probably still living, lower income persons, so they're not going to pay plenty property taxes, right? And then we have a lot of open spaces in City TRC. Part of City TRC also is the industrial estate. Now, property taxes from the industrial estate is not going to come to us, right? So we at Cuba Tabakit will lose out.
But that's how it's supposed to be done. See, that's how it's done in the USA. If a certain business is in your community, you collect the property tax, and that is what they call ratables, and that helps bring down what you have to pay. But the draconian way, like I said, the whole structure, that cannot work. And
So
people
comes
have.
back again. Tell me how that is going to help my burgesses. How is that going to help my 13,000 burgesses right now when I have to come back to you and beg?
And then they have to change the structure, the income tax, because the amount of money they're taking from you via income tax, that percentage has to drop if you're going to collect property tax. You can't be collecting income tax, VAT, and all the other taxes and still want to collect property tax, road tax through the gas, and the money's still not going trickling down to where it's supposed to be going.
Agreed.
So when the gas tax was implemented way back then, probably before I was born, right? You were supposed to be having proper roads, We never had that.
You know, back in the 80s, they came up with the unemployment levy. When you became out of work, there was no unemployment money funds coming to you, and you're paying the unemployment levy. I don't know, do they still collect that, the unemployment levy?
No.
So where the money gone?
I am sure the government today can answer that.
So I want to say I know there's a new individual here, Anjani Benjamin. I think you might know her, Mrs. Khan Mohammed. Because she's saying very good things about you. And then there's
He's an older man at the Kufa Tabaki Talpara
She
Regional
was here in the
Hospital.
Village Anson recently.
Oh, she was?
Yeah, that's the same.
Oh, that's the same person. Or then there's Shanti Ramtahal. And then, of course, Henry Awang was already here in the village as well. You know, so he says there's a school and a mosque next to the landslide, right? And Shanti says, good work, Nadia. So they're already complimenting you, Nadia, on the fantabulous job you're coming to the village and you're doing.
Thank you.
So, and then we also have Stacy Gorahahu.
I want to believe it as Gorohu, Stacy Gorohu.
Gorohu, my bad. I apologize, Stacy. Stacy, I apologize. So somebody says, Mrs. Khan Mohammed, where in Trinidad and Tobago is the unemployment office besides URP? I don't understand that one now. Lana?
It's simple. Where is there our unemployment office besides URP and CPEP? That's a straightforward question.
Oh, no, because URP is the unemployment relief program.
I really want to tell them go to the Prime Minister's office and seek employment there, and I wish them the best of luck.
Yeah.
At least Stacy laughed at my pronunciation of her last name. She laughed. She said, where that foreign guy come from? Oh God!
The foreign guy from Chumaka.
Yeah, guy from Chumaka Clapham too. Chumaka. Yeah. So all right. So Diana, Lana said thank you very much because you clarified what you wanted to find out. All right.
No. Okay. What is it? What did I clarify now?
You clarified the unemployment relief office and his office, and the fact that you can go to the Prime Minister's office and seek employment there, and we wish them.
Now, Mrs. Khan Mohammed, me again coming in. I hope I'm not going in an area that makes you uncomfortable, but there seems to be a lot of automobiles on the roadway in Trinidad and Tobago, much more proportionately than probably we would expect for a population of 1.3 million. I know that puts a lot of stress on the roadways, which would make the maintenance of the roadways even more costly. One thinks about people in Trinidad and Tobago talking about not being able to afford and poverty and suffering and so on and so forth. You want to think and want to wonder where and how can these people buy all these automobiles at these exorbitant prices, because the prices aren't cheap, and be so poor yet. Can you explain to me if I'm thinking the wrong way?
Well, I believe persons are allowed their luxuries. And if you work hard and you can afford to award yourself with a luxury of a vehicle, by all means, I am really happy for you. As it relates to traversing on the road on a daily basis, now if the roads are maintained and upkeep in the manner that it should be upkeep, then there is no problem. It comes just like your home. Everybody would love to be comfortable in their homes. Every time we do renovations, we try to upkeep and maintain our homes. So are you telling me that living in my home and sleeping in my bed every day will run it down? So you're saying that by these burgesses, like let's say my 13,000 burgesses, each one of them were to buy a vehicle and they use the road every day, that will damage the road? If the road, yes, the road is being damaged, but the road should be maintained and be upkeep in the manner that it should be.
okay, what I was actually getting to is how poor are they and how much suffering is it when they're able to afford these expensive vehicles? Because vehicles sell like hot bread in Trinidad, it seems. That's just my observation. Maybe
Well, we
I'm
can't really judge a family who has 3 or 4 vehicles to a family who has none, right? Yes, there are some families who have more than you would think is sufficient for them. But like I said, if you work hard and you want to award yourself this luxury, you're free to do it.
But I think Tommy, you're missing the point here. Also, the fact that um, you might have had a good job previously, and because of what took place between the COVID and the economic downturn, that you found yourself in a difficult position and you can't maintain. And some of us, again, live at home with the parents, living off of the family, so we can afford certain things. But I mean, tough times came about, and you're in a situation now, not because you have the house and the car doesn't mean that everything is fine and dandy. You were able to buy these things before, but now you're in a tough situation. So this is what you have to look at also.
And also, too, some of them get help from outside, from their relatives outside. You have to take that into consideration.
But the family structure we have in Trinidad, where you live at home with the parents, or you live and you don't really have to pay rent, and you could buy these things. But I'm just saying, you had all these things and you run into a tough time. Doesn't mean that you're not really going through a tough time.
So, Mrs. Khan Mohammed, in your constituency, right? What are some of the roads that have been built and repaired under your watch in your constituency?
Do you want me to outline list? I could tell you, I could tell you the roads that were paved under the PP's government. We had the Soledad Road North, Soledad Road West, Lalu Trace, Gopi Chand Trace, Kaulisa Singh Trace, Samsam Hill Trace, even Pleasant Park was resheeted under the PP's partnership government. That same Pleasant Park that we were speaking about before. And numerous, almost all the minor roads were repaired, resheeted, or paved under the PP's partnership government, 2013 to 2015. From 2015 till present, it would have deteriorated. The Hermitage Main Road, the Southern Main Road, and those are the main roads that have hundreds, thousands of vehicles, persons traverse on a daily basis. And those roads have not been maintained, resheet, repaved for the longest while. So every day it is deteriorating.
Who's normally responsible for the now in the constituency, right? If there a road needs to be paved or repaired or something, right? I mean, the councillor has to go. The councillor will go to the MP, and then the MP will go to the government, and hopefully the government will allocate funds. Or is that part of the budget that's given to the council?
Well, the minor roads that fall under the corporation, the vested roads, the corporation is responsible for that. The councillors would take their requests, go to the corporation, estimates will be generated. Those requests now would be sent up to budgets or ministries for release of allocation, for release of funding. The main roads, those are sent. It could be done via the councillors through something called the regional coordinating meeting at the corporation, which is held once a month, where you would have representatives from various agencies coming. So a councillor can make a request there, or you have the MPs as well going to their various meetings with their minister colleagues, and they bring it up there, whether it be in Parliament, Cabinet, Senate.
But Mrs. Khan Mohammed, I want to go back to a point quickly, right? And I'm trying to get a better understanding of this, right? If I am in a constituency and part of that constituency, I am the councillor for that, and let's say I get $5 for that constituency, right? But like the Pleasant Park constituency says is not under your watch. But didn't they give you that $5 to include Pleasant Park as well?
No.
No?
You see, the budget, our draft estimates are sent up from the corporation themselves, right? So realistically, the corporation spends the funding allocated to them for areas that are vested in the corporation, meaning water courses, streets, roads, drainage, that sort of thing. Excuse me. And because Pleasant Park was not handed over to the regional corporation, that development is not included in the draft estimates, in the budget estimates. So we do not get funding to do any sort of infrastructure works in Pleasant Park. A couple years ago, I think it was in 2016, 2015, 2016, under Franklin Kahn, when he was the local government minister at that time, there was a meeting held with the CEO of the corporation then and one of the officers, the road officers, together with the minister. And conversations came up about Pleasant Park and estimates were procured and whatnot. And the minister himself said that he cannot afford to do any sort of infrastructure works. He cannot afford to bring Pleasant Park up to standards. Is costing him too much, and that the agency in which it falls under, which was Petrotrin, should be able to do the infrastructure upgrade works, and then we would have discussions about handing over to the corporation so we could further maintain. That has never happened.
Oh, so how does Pointer Pay itself be handed over Pleasant Park? So now Pleasant Park could be part of the budget. When the budget is given in order for them to do something in Pleasant Park.
Holds the responsibility in Petrotrin Heritage Paria, whoever has that responsibility right now has to have discussions. Probably their line minister, their minister PS, has to have the discussions with our line minister, and then they would go about doing that sort of handover via cabinet note, cabinet minute, gazetted. That's all. There's a process.
That's interesting, though. That's very interesting. I mean, I think the people kind of learn something about Pleasant Park, and there could be part of a
Mind you, a
community.
day doesn't go by without a resident from Pleasant Park calling for assistance. For instance, I have this senior woman. Her name is Mrs. Hamid. Mrs. Hamid calls me religiously, regularly, every fortnight, every month. Mrs. Mohammed, my drain needs cleaning. Mrs. Mohammed, the inverts have cracked up and it is undermining my property. Mrs. Mohammed, and I feel so sorry for her. So every time I would call my CSO, my one of the officers in charge of the drainage, and I will beg him. I will say, just go help Mrs. Hamid, please. See how we can help her. If it means we have to dig back an earthen drain or something, let us help her.
You know what I'm getting from all this? It seems as though in that part of the country, down there belong to Venezuela or somebody else. They don't belong to Trinidad and Tobago. Because if the PNM and Imsburg ain't passing no money off, then it belong to Venezuela.
Seems so.
But Diana, this is something that's been going on. This is something that happened for a long time. This isn't just
it belong to Venezuela. That's what I said. It belongs to Venezuela, South America.
No, but Diana, this is not something that happened yesterday. I don't think Pleasant Park was on this. I don't think
all them constituents down there, they're not getting the money to fix the drain. It belongs to South America because they're not getting no help.
There isn't an agency in the country that isn't complaining about coming but stifling them for funds. The taxi drivers not getting paid, the guys who transporting the students not getting paid for months, maybe a whole year by now, I don't know. But it is always running through an issue with but not releasing the funds from everybody I talk to.
So the last time Pleasant Park was able to get any works done was around 2014, going into 2015, where Dr. Rambachan was Minister of Works at that time, and I would have approached him for assistance in Pleasant Park. Now, I could not have done that infrastructure works through the corporation. So through his ministry, he was able to do some road rehabilitation inside here, do some drainage, as well as a retaining wall, because they had a major landslip inside here. And that was the last time that works were really done in Pleasant Park.
Shame on who's the fellow? Wait, that is Gonzalez, is his name?
No, that Minister of Public Utilities.
Rohan
Minister.
Silanan, shame on you.
No,
I'm going from it up. Dr. Rowley, shame on you. You find money to pay $10 million or $15 million for a burial ground and a fancy suit to put on and dance and go like a fool on the stage, and the people down in this place can't get the drain. And shame on you. Shame on you. I said it.
The people of Pleasant Park are suffering. They are suffering, and they're suffering because the PNM government cannot fix their house in order and sort out these people.
Shame on you, Dr. Rowley.
Sold, whatever. Secure your assets. There are people under your watch. Secure these people.
Okay, so Mrs. Khan, Mohammed, last question before you go. What is the Goods and Services Fund used for, and how does your Burgesses get access to those funds?
Well, the goods and services, that is the $1.4 million that I was speaking about, right? That we were fortunate to be allocated. It hasn't been released as yet, allocated in this financial year. Now, that goods and services, it is a famous board for us councillors. It is called the 612, under maintenance of state traces, local roads. So through that goods and services part, we could construct box trains, we could repair roads, we could buy material to help with anything within the community.
You know when all they go get it? Close to the local election. That's when they go come and dangle it in front of all you. And close to general election. That's when they go come and dangle it in front of
they might release it the day before the end of the financial year, and then they will say we cannot spend it out because then
sick of them.
It usually is. They will release it then, and because of the fact that contractors may not be able to deliver at that last minute, automatically the money would go back, and then they will stand up in Parliament and say, Kuvataba Kital Power Regional Corporation, send back the $1.4 million.
Okay, so what happens is that fund comes in, and that fund is used in the constituency according to what things you think need to get fixed. It's not like somebody can get allocated to that fund. It's more a fund for the constituency.
It is the funds for the constituency, for the electoral district, for the Burgesses. It is where we help the Burgesses. No, we don't get the funding. We don't get to feel the money or see the money or hold the money in our hands, right? It is given to the corporation, and through the corporation, we will take our requests. For instance, my Soledad Road West, or even I have a street, I have part of Lalu Trace that needs to resheet, or I need to do some spot paving. My road officer will come, we will do an estimate, we will procure that, and then we will send up that to ministry, or if the funding is released into the corporation's account, then we could purchase the material to do that. So it is managed by the corporation, the accounting department and the technical department, providing it is released to the corporation.
But sometimes here in the United States, they come to loggerhead, and sometimes they shut down the place, and then they decide they have a bipartisan agreement, and they release the funds. Look, they release all this money to build up the infrastructure, the train system, the transportation system, all kinds of things, the network system, because they realize what's his name, Pete Buttigieg, he was instrumental in getting this done. And they work with him because it's for the betterment of the country. I don't understand why it is they're holding on to the money and don't let the money trickle down to y'all and to wherever it's supposed to go to fix the country. And when the rain fall, all down there just get flooded out. That don't make no kind of sense to me. A bunch of what's the song they call it? A bunch of donkeys in Parliament.
Now, I'm glad you even brought up flood too, because the main water courses has not been throughout the Kubataba Kital Power region. You have to beg, literally beg, go down on your knees and beg and plead for funding for releases to clean water courses, because Drainage Division claims to have not been getting releases to, so they cannot maintain or dredge or clean their main water courses in time for the rainy season to prevent flooding. So through the corporation, we have to look for ways or means of doing that. So we end up doing other agencies' work as well.
How many backhoes you are allocated for your corporation? Because I know I was talking to Councillor Seema Ramsaran, and she had like one backhoe was being shared between a few.
Right now at the corporation, we have 2 backhoes that is functioning, and they're not functioning 100%. They're halfway.
Okay.
And that is 14 electoral districts.
I fed up. I can't be in politics in Trinidad because they go and not me.
Well, Diana, you gotta worry about that too. You gotta worry about that because
what do you mean? What do you mean I don't worry about that?
Your citizenship of Barbados disqualifies you.
And Slim, don't let we go there. Don't let we go there now. Don't let we go there. You see, you have a myopic view of that. I try to explain it to you, but you're not listening. Okay.
So you know what? I refuse to allow the PNM government to prevent me from servicing my burgesses. I refuse to allow them to take away something from me that I love. And I love representing and I love serving my burgesses. I love my community.
Them give me a migraine.
I will not allow them to do that. And I love serving under my leader. She's the greatest role model ever.
I couldn't be in the parliament when them in opposition and trying to get something done, and the speaker telling you out of order, and they're telling you and Mr. what's his name, Ethelbert Hines get up with all his big colorful language and trying to insult you. Look, go ahead,
Mrs. Khan Mohammed. I want to say to you, thank you so very kindly for taking the time to join us here in the village. Any closing words before you go?
I just want to thank you all again for having us here. I think you're doing a wonderful job in allowing us to vent, allowing us to let you know, or let the people out there know the challenges that we are going through, to talk about more what councillors like me, what we're about, what we're supposed to do. And I just want you all to continue doing that.
I know we would also like you to keep us updated going forward on what's taking place, you know.
Of course. And to my burgesses out there, I want them to know that I love them dearly. And I thank them for their continuous and constant love and kind words and gestures towards me in encouraging me to continue doing what I am doing. I thank you all for your support, because without the support out there, I cannot continue to do what I am doing. And I want to thank my political leader for being the role model that she is, for constantly encouraging us to serve, and go out and doing what we are supposed to do and what we are about. Once again, thank you all so much for having me on tonight's program.
Thank you very much, sister.
You're welcome.
We want to say thank you so very kindly as well.
Thank you.
Take care. All right.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
I'm tired of your PNM people, Anselm. They're sickening. They're suffering the people. What is suffering Trinidadians so for? What's wrong with them?
I've been talking about this suffering. We have to be careful with the words about suffering. A lot of people, yes, are having it hard, but a lot of people are doing well.
Hello. Nobody should be suffering under this government. Nobody should be suffering like that.
Diana, it are people in America suffering.
Well, nobody should be suffering now.
It's pulling teeth to get the simplest thing done. To get the simplest thing done.
At least you could get something done here. You see what the mayor went and do with the homeless? He moved them off the subway. He putting them somewhere. When the homeless in Trinidad lying down in the streets, the dirty, stinking, pissy streets. Who's seen about them? And Impsworth is driving a big fancy vehicle. I tired and fed up of your PNM people peeing on people.
Diana, it are plenty politicians in Trinidad on both sides of the divide driving nice vehicles.
Fed up of all of them.
Exactly. You know, on both sides of the
divide. I'm fed up of all of the politicians in Trinidad.
Okay.
Except for the
all of them driving nice vehicles, but don't put one side alone. Talk about all of them.
will
All
let
of
me
them driving nice
listen.
vehicles.
Let the storm see what she say now. I'm fed up of all of them except for the PDP. Good.
Oh, the PDP, boy.
Well, the
Is that
PDP
PDP
just come
now?
there, wait and see what happens.
That's what I
You
said.
go, you're going green now? Is green
I'm
you're
fed
going
up of
green?
all of them except for the PDP. Yeah, who want to
All
take
right.
that? They can lump it.
Rodney Charles go get victory for saying that.
I always say that the UNC had
Rodney
a,
Charles go tell you go back to Barbados.
Rodney Charles can't tell me go nowhere. I born right there in Trinidad. Bring him on. Bring him on. Bring him on. Bring on Rodney Charles. Bring him. Bring him.
Diana Ben Skin.
Bring Rodney Charles. Bring him on.
Is he in the background yet?
Yeah. Let me bring
Well, Rodney Charles tell me to go where?
I always say the partnership had a chance to make a major difference and to solve many of the problems, and they dropped it.
I'm going to let Mr. Charles answer you on that.
Welcome,
brother. Thank you for taking the time.
Good night, Mr. Charles. How are you doing?
Mr. Rodney Charles, boy. The man
Good
who's
evening.
the man who's creating a wave across the world.
Good evening,
How are
Mr.
you doing?
Charles.
How you doing, Mr.
I'm
Charles?
fine. I'm fine. Trying to book a ticket to Bridgetown and Georgetown.
I can help you to get to Bridgetown. You know, I got connections. Yeah, I'm a Bajan, you know.
well, my grandmother was born in the gardens in St. James.
Oh,
you know, Medford. So I got my citizenships waited, and I got good friends.
No, it don't work so. Your parents gonna be Bajans. Don't go there with me. I know the law, so don't fess me.
Well, I go in as a refugee, so
okay.
No problem.
Well, then we go take you.
So, Mr. Charles, we want to welcome you back to Any Village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Of course, DAG is DAG. That's Diana is considered to be the storm. I am Anselm of Wall Street. G is, of course, Gary the Phantom. And we have a fourth individual who is Tommy. Tommy is a commissioner here in Newark, New Jersey. Mr. Charles, welcome to Any Village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. How are you doing?
Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm doing fine. I'm happy to be on your show, and I look forward to sharing ideas. As the scripture says, let us reason together. So I'm here to reason.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Mr. Charles, I will marry you and give you Bajan citizenship. Don't worry.
Well, I'm an old man. I may look 24, but I'm 73.
I'll put you in the corner. You can sit down there. You'll sit down there in the corner and chill. No problem.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. That's why they call Chili Storm. You know what I mean? Chili Storm.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Charles, here's the thing that I want to address the diaspora thing with you, being that you were the ambassador in the UN, right? And I want to address the diaspora thing with us here in the diaspora and dual citizenship, right? Because many of us believe that at some point in time we would like to come back to Trinidad to serve the country, right? Because some of us come to this country young and we always want to get involved in politics, right? For some reason. But many of us obtain dual citizenship. And due to obtaining dual citizenship, people will say we are trying to serve two masters, and you cannot serve two masters. However, someone could be born in another country, can come to Trinidad, get citizenship, and become an MP or attorney general, and so on and so forth. Right? Many of us believe that. And to furthermore, in this country, you can be a senator and have dual citizenship, but you cannot become president. Right? Why it is that?
Go on.
No, why it is that? Let me put it this way. I believe, or we believe, the constitution needs to change in that we may be able to become an MP or minister, but we cannot become a prime minister or a president in Trinidad and Tobago.
Right. Clearly, the laws of Trinidad and Tobago were crafted. The constitution was crafted in 1962. And it has outlived its purpose. We see it every day. We see it in Parliament, where the Speaker is appointed by the Prime Minister, and therefore she is beholden to the Prime Minister. And we are saying, for example, that he or she, the Speaker, should be a creature of the Parliament and elected by 3/5 of the sitting members. Because what we have now is intolerable. We have a situation, and we put our speakers in problems. Because if you have a prime minister like Dr. Christopher Rowley, who is not known to be a diplomat, he could be rough with you and make it extremely difficult for you to function as an impartial and independent office as was intended by the Constitution. Similarly, the Constitution at the time when it was crafted did not allow for dual citizenship. It was changed, I think it was in the time of Nair. Eric Williams took the position, and I think unwisely, that you cannot serve two masters. He says it's neither mother India, nor mother Africa, nor mother Canada or the United States. There's only one mother, and that is the mother Trinidad and Tobago. That was his view. At the time, perhaps it worked. When the NAR came in, they introduced dual citizenship. But no, the country never got down to working out the mechanics and how to operationalize this thing. So I'll tell you, if you look at Jamaica has a strong diaspora approach culturally. There are links between Jamaica and the diaspora. For example, the Jamaica football team, soccer team, that did better than us. I think they lost to Canada 2 days ago. That team comprised a lot of third-generation Londoners, British.
Yep, correct is right. Correct is right.
When we come to Trinidad, we treat you like second-class citizens. In fact, there's jealousy. They went to America, had a good time, and now they want to come back and take away we kakada, to use the Calypsonian phrase. They come here instead of looking at you as a strength that we could tap into. For example, it is no secret that we have some of the best nursing administrators in Brooklyn and in London. Our best nurses, and I would say so advisedly, but I stand on good ground. My wife was English trained. But the problem is, have we ever thought of tapping into that resource that resides in North America? If a nurse reaches a senior position in the United States and comes to Trinidad, they tell her she has to go in at the bottom. And then there is the jealousies because they haven't worked out how to tap into them in a way that makes sense. We have, and if you look at countries like India and Israel allows the Jews. They have a policy where any Jew lands in Israel, he's automatically given citizenship and all the rights and privileges that derive there. So what did Israeli as the third best air force in the world? But their best pilots are trained in the United States. They train in the United States, retire, and then go to Israel. And the system is there to tap into that resource, so train the Israeli pilots so that they have the benefit of the United States training. So actually, the United States does a lot of the training for Israel, for India, and now they're taking steps to block it for China. Why can't we do that in Trinidad? Why can't we? So we have, and it's really bad. If you look at, we have in migrants coming from Venezuela, and we have top flight engineers and doctors and specialists pumping gas in Trinidad, because for some reason, Trinidadians, we always felt we knew everything. We're the brightest, we're the best. God is at training. So we do not need the Trinidadians in Canada and America. We do not need the best Venezuelans to come in here to enrich our lives in the same way like von Brunt, who was a German, came to the United States and developed the NASA, the rocket program run by the United States. German technology brought to the United States to advance. We in Trinidad feel we're the greatest, the best in the world. So we look on you as, loafers.
You're out there.
You're out there, and now you're coming here and
You
who you
abandon
feel
your
you
country,
are.
you jump ship, you neglect your
Your
people,
jump
you
ship.
feel.
And those of us who studied abroad, I lived about let me see, 6 years in Canada, about 4 years in the United States, in all about 11 years outside. We are in problems because you can't fully adjust back to Trinidad. Because where you feel you're playing? Who Charles is? He just gone away and he lived two things and he getting on like if like he knew it all. So I have to stay in Parliament. And you made the comment before I came on board with Heinz. I have to listen to idiocy, dotishness, nonsense. And when I get up, I'm told, shut up, sit down, take a walk, come back, apologize. And it is rough living in Trinidad. And it is not that people do not want to contribute. If you come back to Trinidad and you enter the public service, they will kill you. I'm telling you that. They're going to frustrate you. If you're working hard, who you trying to show us up? They walk in 9 o'clock, and if you start to raise problems about coming in 9 o'clock, who is Charles? Where you feel he is? He lived 2 years in Canada,
Mr.
and you want
Charles,
to come back.
it starts at the airport when you come to the airport and you present a foreign passport, but it says born in Trinidad and what you come here for, how long you staying, who you going by, when you're leaving. So I just tell him I will leave when I feel like leaving. How about that? When I feel like leaving.
I agree with you, and I agree with you, and we pay a price for it. But the reason why the Guyanese now are telling Trinidadians, and there's a little tit for tat between Guyana and Trinidad, is because in the airports, we used to if they left the JFK or Toronto, they had to they had a stopover in Port of Prince. And they used to have them sleeping on the floor. And I used to be shaking my head, why would we treat fellow CARICOM citizens like that? And Vice President Bharat Jagdeo raised that point. He said, Guyanese will tell you that the worst airport in the world is at Piarco. And I'm telling myself, the government understands, Dr. Rowley ought to understand that things have changed. Trinidad is no longer the richest in the world, and God love us. And he does not understand that has changed. And the mindset has to change. He should have, long ago, sizing up the situation in Guyana, given Guyanese what you call most favored nation status. He should have called in our immigration officers and said, listen, we have a history in the past, and we need to treat, in fact, they treat citizens badly. They treat Trinidadians in the diaspora terribly, and they treat others worse. And worse are Guyanese, Grenadians, St. Vincentians, etc. Trinidad has to get a measure of humility and understand. And you see, Dr. Rowley, I don't want to make this political, but Dr. Rowley has to get it out of his head that we are not the wealthiest and the richest. And if we are not careful, Barbados will pass us, Guyana has passed us, and Jamaica is on the road. Jamaica is on the...
I predict that Guyana is going to become the breadbasket of the Caribbean, because I tell you, the way the islands are situated, Mr. Charles, if a terrible catastrophe happens, you see how the global warming is occurring, right? Tsunami hit or whatever. Guyana is a landlocked country, yeah? And where everybody gonna want to where they gonna want to run to? Where the English speaking diaspora they gonna want to run to?
I am telling you, if you look at right now, if you go to Manzanilla, you could see the sea encroaching on the land. You look when on low tide, half mile out, you could see where trees were. The stumps of coconut trees half mile out, which means the sea is encroaching. We import some in the region, something like $6 billion in foodstuffs. Right now, with what is going on in Ukraine and Russia, wheat shortages, food shortages, the supply chain disruptions, they anticipate in the US where you live, food prices will increase significantly in the months ahead.
They
in
have
Trinidad
already.
worse.
They have
In
already.
Trinidad worse. Well, oh Lord, if we understand that, and Guyana has all the land the Rupununi, thousands of acres, hundreds of thousands of acres of land.
A
Should we
wasteland.
get together with the Guyanese, use whatever little cash Trinidad has and entrepreneurial skills, etc., and develop a mutually beneficial agricultural trust to make us self-sufficient in beef, in grain, in rice, in a significant number of food items. Now, you know who is doing that? Mia Motley and Jagdu Bharat, Barbados, and Guyana. You know who is not in that? Or who is dancing around?
The thing about it, Mr. Charles,
Rodney,
is that we just run around like a chicken without a head here to help the party. When election time comes, whether it's PNM, UNC, different people just run around here. There'll be a lot of money raised, and we can't even get no respect when we come home. We can't get nothing done to give us some consideration. They refuse to recognize the input that we can put and consider part of their resources. It's okay to give the money, but then they win the election and we become nobody and irrelevant. And this is, I find, to be highly disrespectful. As Diana said, from the time we land in the airport, I myself have experienced very bad treatment in Piaco from the time I land. And I asked the customs guy after I leave immigration, I said that they treat me like I shouldn't come here. He said, boy, make sure you let them know it's immigration treat you so and not custom. But at one point I was being interrogated by custom. Where am I going?
I blame
the disrespect.
I blame you all too. I blame you all, the diaspora, for part of the problem. When I was at the UN, I used to tell the diaspora, Trinidad by itself cannot impact the US politics. When you look at the Greek diaspora and the Italian diaspora and the Jewish diaspora, they get together. They come up with numbers. They go to a congressman. They go to a senator and say, I represent 400,000 votes. Talk to me what you give in my community. I got this sense when I was in New York, that Trinidadians tended to be by themselves, Jamaicans by themselves, Haitians were very strong. They have a strong thing, but no link.
But even Trinidadians are not united here. We're not united on even one cause.
Again, that is Trinidad. I don't know. We need to. God has to intervene. You go in Trinidad and you go in Brooklyn, and they're giving a prize to eight persons who contribute to it, all African. And then you go to Queens, and they're all Indian. And then you say, listen, don't invite me unless there is a diversity in the way you operate. It seemed, and another problem I found with the diaspora is that they left in the 60s. We had a big racial problem in the 60s, right? Indian, African, and since if you come to Trinidad, how we vote is not how we party or how we sleep. The largest group in Trinidad is the Douglas. Every classroom you go in, there is some curly head thing. The curly head is now the style. No, I bald head, so I can't show you. The Indians who are straight, curling it up, and the Africans frizzling it up because they're moving to the center. And those who left in the 60s tend to maintain that antagonism, racism, and they bring that forward. So I used to, when I went to Brooklyn or Queens, I used to say, listen, we are working out our racial problems. We haven't sorted it out yet. But if you go, something is happening in the bedroom that is not happening in the politics. So if you come to Trinidad, at least help us solve this problem. Don't bring your 40-year-old prejudices into our mainstream politics. Because I used to find those.
Mr. Charles, though, when we try to come with those solutions, they don't want to hear it though.
Nope.
So you now have to come to Trinidad as a united force. And you could do it. Why do you think the Jews have so much power in the United States?
Well, we hope to use this platform to kind of
bring that checkbook. So you all work out together Africans and Indians, Bajans and Grenadians, and you all come up with your purse. And listen, me ain't giving you your money unless you deal with these 4 things. Because you all have something to add to us. You all have been out. You all see the world globally. You all recognize Grenada can't survive. Trinidad can't make it. Guyana can't make it. You all, with your purse, will walk down here and you talk to Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and say, Kamala, what is your manifesto with respect to the diaspora? And she tells you to say, no, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow. When you come up with that, we will talk. And you go to Guyana, well, Guyana wouldn't need your money now, but still at the political party level. And Barbados, and Grenada. And you could be an influence on us, because if you stay there and wait for us to wait to accommodate you, nothing is going to happen. Because Trinidad, Grenada, Barbados, all of us are in our own world. You know, we go to Carica meetings and we talk the nice talk. But when we get back home, it's Trinidad first, Grenada first.
In my city, which is Newark, the mayor has set up a Caribbean Commission, which I am a commissioner on.
Very good.
With the same view that he sees the Caribbean as one unit. And we, as a group, try to do things in a Caribbean setting as an example for our brothers from the Caribbean diaspora. But further to that, Mr. Charles, I was thinking, in Trinidad, the main problem with the way things happen in the politics and on the local scene is that ancient playbook that everybody's working with. And I've said it and I'll say it again. The partnership had an excellent opportunity to change that playbook, much more so than anybody within the last 20 to 25 years, because they got probably the best dealt hand in the most recent elections that we've had in Trinidad. Do you agree with me?
No, I don't.
So Mr. Charles, I want you to hold that thought right there. We got to go for a quick station identification. So we are talking about the People's Partnership having a great opportunity to change the playbook, right? When we come back, we're going to have Mr. Charles address that issue, because Mr. Charles is going to address that issue first. So stick and stay, folks. It's In the Village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us no other than MP Rodney Charles with us tonight in the village, and he's the MP for Naparima. All right, we'll be right back.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
DAG Triplets and WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us the renowned MP, Mr. Rodney Charles, who is thinking about Barbados and Guyana since the blow-up that happened in the parliament recently with himself and the Prime Minister. So, Mr. Charles, go ahead. We were talking about the playbook, that the People's Partnership had a great opportunity to change the playbook, and you disagree? Go ahead.
Yes, I disagree. It is the same problem you will face if you come back here and you try to change Trinidad. The PNM has been in power for over 70% of the time in Trinidad. Understand that clearly. They have set the culture, the tone, the behavioral patterns, and the senior officials are all significantly products of the PNM. So when we go into office, all the permanent secretaries, the commissioner of police, the president, the chief justice is appointed by the PNM. And you cannot operate by bypassing them, because the president, right now, if we win the election tomorrow, we have a president who, in our view, is a product of the PNM. It means she appoints the EBC, Election and Boundaries Commission. She appoints all the members of the Service Commission, Teaching Service Commission, Police Service Commission, in her own independent right. So you, Rodney Charles, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, Diana Anselm becomes prime minister. And you cannot change that. So that you find yourself, but at the same time, you have to deliver. The PNM they did it to NAR. They spent every cent, every single cent. When NAR came into power, Robinson came into power, all the good ideas, he couldn't deliver because the people wanted the money, they wanted now. He was telling them, you are giving, instead of paying you, I'll pay you in tranches. He ended up being shot. Because what he is, years after people tell you, Robinson had some good ideas. Because had the public servants taken back pay in shares in the refinery, and we went through 2 booms afterwards, all of them would have been millionaires. But you inherited, so one of the problem, number one, you inherit a PNM culture, and you cannot change that. All the senior officers of the army are now given the head of the SSA, Strategic Services Agency, the spy agency, was a police officer, in the army. The senior levels of the army are appointed by the PNM, and they know if they behave themselves when they retire, they'll get a job from under Rowdy. So these fellas are all around the public service. So you do not have the freedom. The second thing is there are constitutional limitations on a prime minister. You are the prime minister of the country, but let's face it, the army in Trinidad is 90% African, 80%, 75%. So you are in Port of Spain as an Indian, and you have, everywhere you look, Garden, you are African. We have not integrated, and the PNM did that deliberately. The PNM has CPEP, which you know, and URP, which is PNM. If you, as a UNC government, decide for significant reasons that we need to keep a doctor instead of a URP workers, you will be killed. If you understand, it's simple when you're outside to say, we could run, you all are the best opportunity, and that. Robinson tried it, and he got shot. He had to say attack with full force. So we have the other problem with the PNM, their scorched earth policy. Right now, they're spending every cent. Borrowing from China, borrowing from the Andean Bank, borrowing from the IMF, borrowing from everybody else, IDB, borrowing. So when you come in and you look at it, and you know they could spend the bloody money better than they do it. So you come in, no money. So you have to run to the IMF or run to seek loans from somebody, and they give terms. If you want my money, you have to do A, B, and C. So the PNM has damaged Trinidad and Tobago. Though I was a PNM years ago, so I know the level of damage. I could give you one example. Lee Kuan Yew, when he got into Singapore, it was a corrupt country. His first cabinet, he jailed 3 of his ministers, 1 committed suicide. He locked them up, jailed them. And he set the culture. If you play the fool, and you could be in my cabinet, you're getting jailed. You're getting fired. O'Halloran did nonsense in Trinidad. What did Eric Williams do? What did all the corrupt fellas do? When Solomon went into the prison and took out his stepson, and Sparrow, who's a PNM? Well, we think he was. Then he said, I say that Solomon shall be Minister of External Affairs. And you will like it? Get the hell out of here. And you know what? Last week when Rowley told me, and a simple question, Mr. Prime Minister, you went to Qatar. Mia went to Georgetown. She got X number of jobs. You tell us how many jobs you got. And would it not have been better for you to go Georgetown better to go Georgetown rather than Qatar. He told me, echoes of Eric Williams, get the hell out of here if you don't like it. That, if you paraphrase what he said, Rodney Charles, you like everything is Barbados, Guyana. If you don't like it, get the hell out of here. Nothing has changed. People like me, if you come here and you're in my position, you would see it just as I'm seeing it. Nothing. No, so you come in and win, and you realize, listener, I have to create jobs. And give credit to Kamala. when she came into power, we had 2 successive quarters of negative growth. That is defined as a recession. And she didn't argue. She sat down like a man and did what she had to do. Well, the price of oil helped her. But we build schools, we build hospitals, we build roads, we build aquatic center, we build hospital. We give 140 wage negotiations were negotiated. And the PNM, this is the PNM, eh? When we lost the election, they say how we left them no money, even though we left them 8 billion in the Heritage Fund. Don't kill me for a billion. And 11 billion US. 11 billion US in reserves. They left us nothing. We left them 11 billion. And you know what they said? We gave the workers, we settled wage negotiations with the workers, giving them 14%, I think. And that was a waste. The PNM giving it to public servants who are PNM. And they tell us, the government giving PNM, because the public services is significantly PNM. He tell us we're wasting money and we set them up. So the PNM does not, and you see, as a black person, you know why I'm not in the PNM anymore? Because when I left Canada and came and working with Cutty, who was a respectable man, very good man, but they didn't treat him well. When I was working with Cutty, there was a firm bringing in foolishness for that's in the 70s, eh? Bringing in foolishness from for the secondary schools. That time we the shift system and we brought in the juniors there. And this fella was a junior to me in Canada. And he coming down and lecturing us on what we should buy for the schools. And he knows, and I know, that in Canada he's a nobody, but he white. And the PNM had me working as a dog in the public service and giving this foreigner millions of US dollars. And you talk to them and they're not listening. I realize if I have to aspire in this world, I have to forget the PNM. I have to forget them.
But Mr. Charles, we had to be fair though. We had to be fair, right? Because listen,
tell me.
Your party brought down a commissioner of police, 2 white guys, where they came from a constituency where they might have been in charge of 300 police officers. And come to Trinidad to look after a set of brown people in Trinidad and Tobago.
Correct. Okay. But the PNM did it also. The PNM did it.
But listen, I'm saying that yes, the PNM did it, but I'm also saying that some of the same thing the PNM do is the same thing your party do as well.
But let me also tell you, and one of the evils of this country is that those 2 white boys brought down the murder rate by 120 in the first year in Trinidad.
But they don't fire them.
Send them home.
But Rodney, but then only fire them.
Yes, because you see, no. When those two white boys get so much pressure from the local boys. So, sometimes you do not know. It almost was an ultimatum. Get rid of them, because them fellas, you know what? Them fellas had no friends in Trinidad.
But Mr. Charles, think about this, right? 2 white guys can come from Canada, come to Trinidad, don't even have no citizenship, could become commissioner of police and assistant commissioner of police.
And I can't come with that.
That was initiated under the PNM.
Let me finish.
They didn't come permanently. They came on a contract to do certain things. And I will tell you that one of the problems of the police service, and I will tell you, I just told you, that if you come in as a UNC, you inheriting PNM people who will undermine you. You know that when we did the state of emergency, and you know, because I ask questions, they say we racial, we looking up black boys. It was on the advice of the police. The police said that Kamala was going to be killed. She get frightened. I do not know the details of the whatnot. But what she was being set up. I was with a minister. She came to the UN. So I was driving in the car and I say, it was the lady from Tobago. I say, but how you get licks with the credit card business? She said the permanent secretary advisor that if you're abroad and it's an emergency and your card not working, you could use the official card, just put back the money. When the mark bust in Trinidad, and she said, well, that is what I understand. Could the permanent secretary substantiate what I was told? She disappeared. And I was told her surname was Rowley. So I'm telling you that a lot of the things you see and you make logical deductions, there is a history, context, and operationalization realities that you have to bear in mind. Those two white boys came in and they took the murder rate down to 120 in 1 year. And I asked the question, because I came in late, I was in the UN. Why did you fire these fellas? And it was get rid of them white boys. They're doing anything. Bear in mind, every police officer in Trinidad related to somebody. And you know how the thing does work in Trinidad. If I go to fire somebody, some aunt will call me and say, you know, that boy related to your auntie, son, cousin, that you married, so is the outside child, or so is your half brother because your father, and all kind of story. Let's try that. Because the reality is, and here is where the diaspora could help us, to say, let us put systems in place. Let us put things objective reality. In Parliament Friday, I was arguing, we start smart objectives, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant time. So we telling, come and tell us in the police service that you'll reduce the murder rate by 10%. You're going to increase, reduce the recidivism rates in the prison by 20%. We have 2,900 young boys, innocent, some of them 8-9 years in remand yard. That you will reduce the remand population by 6% in the first year and 10% down the line. Well, he hasn't answered me as of today. No answer. He just disappeared and come with a list. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this.
Who are you referring to, Mr. Charles?
I'm referring to Fitzgerald Hines.
Okay.
We were challenging him to do what we call management by objectives. So we could look at him a year after and say, you know, have you reduced the murder rate? Yes, you have. Okay. You know what they do in Singapore? Ministers get a flat salary. If they get a bonus depending on performance, measurable performance. So if a minister of national security, the equivalent, reduces the murder rate by 10%, he gets a 6% bonus in salary. If he does it by 20%, he gets a 10% bonus. But if he doesn't make it, he loses his job. So I'll tell you, last year the murder rate was 432 or so. This year, we're heading for 600. 600. And when you challenge the government to give us a figure, whatever reason, they do not do so. So we don't blame the people's partners. We have to be in power for 3 terms. If we're in 3 terms, Trinidad will be better than New York.
But Mr. Charles, right, I know that the history of Trinidad and Tobago is that the PNM have been in power the longest amount of years. And I will say this, I have no qualms about saying this. The PNM constituency, I'm from Chumaka, Clavantil, and I am the worst under the PNM. And I am not saying this because you are UNC and New Year. I just say this across any place I go. Because I'm from Chumaka. And when I left Chumaka, only thing, I think the UNC had a great opportunity to 2011 to write history in Lavantil with that in Chumaka. Okay?
Remember when Jack had the 2 tall buildings in Lavantil, and he wanted it to be a hotel with FIFA and all that kind of thing. The PNM lick him up. The PNM lick him up. He couldn't do it. And right now they're almost ghettos. I passed there yesterday. The 2 tall buildings opposite the Ministry of Energy.
But then again, Rodney, I also want to say that the same thing you're talking about ministers, right? the People's Partnership had an opportunity in that 5 years to change some things.
But hey, so tomorrow is Baptist, Shouta Baptist Day. You don't underestimate the power of the PNM and the mindset of the people of Trinidad, and especially the Africans. You know who gave them a holiday?
No, I know that. I know that.
No. Don't know it and distinct and take. You know who gave them a school? Kamala. You know Kamala. You know who gave them a preschool? Kamala. You know who was going to give them a secondary school? And it's a thing where you could learn to be priest and thing, a divinity school. You know, when Pandey went to thing, they boo him. They boo him. They don't. So don't say we didn't try. You try. We were given when it was Kitchener died. No, Kitchener died. Yes, Kitchener. We were going to bury him. And the family came and said, don't take anything from the UNC. And he ended, and you know what's sad? Because if we had buried him and you know the thing, we would have bought the house that he had, which because he didn't plan his life well, ended up with his woman he was living with and his son got nothing. So don't tell me, I am a Baptist, I'm London Baptist, we the Americans in South. I got Fifth Company Baptist School under Pandey, and it was the best school in the Caribbean at the time in 2000. And when the function came, I was not even invited. A year ago, a couple. So the Trinidad is the African in Trinidad needs, and you could help here. They feel they don't own anything. They do not own anything. They look at scholarship published last week. Boy, you know, all the top is about 90%. Under PNM government, boy. The schools in the PNM areas are the worst schools in the country. Queen's Royal College, where most of the black elite intelligence here goes, I think they got 0 scholarships this year because I think there's an article I read 10. The rich whites now are good. They have their private schools. They have their international schools and the Maple Leaf and the reciting American Pledge. The rich sending their children there. Queen's Royal College, the white people, and I would say that without fear or favor. I 73 years. Me had a favor for nobody. The white people were better to the African than the PNM. So all of the black people, Tron. If you are a black woman in Trinidad and you have a degree and you're bright and all kind of thing, you ain't no husband. Because the fellas in prison or the fellas drop out or they're not, nobody guiding them. How could you spend in a budget of say 7 billion, you spend about 6.5 billion to lock up African children, to imprison them? If you go right now, I challenge you to go in remand yard, is 90% African, like you and me. And you know how much they spend on crime prevention? There's guides, scouts, police youth clubs, civilian conservation corps, MyPath, they spend less than 10 million. Your PNM government.
Well, I see
10 million.
I see the new Minister of Youth Development trying to do some things, you know. So
listen, it's dollars. We need $1 billion, not mama guy, PNM mama guy talk. That a whole meeting and a whole thing. Why can't the PNM? When I was a little boy, going to Santa Flora Government School, we used to have scouts. We used to have Cubs, because I can remember, Kayla, we will do our best. We will dub. I was a scout. We will dub. I remember this, I 73. So, you know, I talking 70 years ago, and it's in my mind. Train up the child in the way you'd go. The white people used to give us biscuit and milk. I don't know if you could remember that. The white people used to give us scout. They used to give us guides. They had cadets, right? They had sports. They had agriculture. So all of us had to have garden day to go to the garden. We had a serious sports thing. Right now, Trinidad is a joke when it comes to sports. We get licked out in the first rounds We get licked out by, here who beat us? Bermuda beat us. Bermuda beat us.
Hey,
St. Kitts Nevis. St. Kitts Nevis. I was on a cruise. I walked around St. Kitts Nevis in the 6 hours I was there. And they beat us. When I was growing up, they had a school called Benedict's College, Dumbasil, Matthews. When a Benedict side run out on the field, they beat a Brazilian youth team. And we move from that now to Grenada. Look at the Olympics. Grenada got a silver medal, right? Jamaica get medal like crazy. They say the colonial government took all the gold out of Jamaica, and Jamaica winning it back one medal at a time. The gold, one medal at a time. So Bahamas got 2 gold medals. we in Trinidad got none. N-O-N-E. None.
But Mr. Charles, listen to this, right? I hear you because I'm into sports, right? And I gotta tell you though, but so I had an idea for Trinidad and Tobago, Sports Development Academy of Trinidad and Tobago, because I sent my son to IMG here in Florida, which is one of the biggest sports academy in the world, right? And I said, boy, this is a great idea for Trinidad and Tobago. And this is why I say sometimes, many times, both parties are not much different. And let me tell you why. My experience. I went to Anil Roberts. I met with Anil Roberts for Sports Development Academy. It ended up with SALT. And after that, they brought the live sport program, which became the deaf sport program. The UNC came out, the partnership came out of power. I went to Smith. What's his first name again? I forgot his first name. Smith.
Yeah, Darrell Smith.
Darrell Smith, who was then the Minister of Sports under the PNM. I said, well, boy, now this program going in place. Sports Development Academy, because what it was about is about getting scholarships for kids in Trinidad and Tobago, tennis, basketball, soccer, whatever it is, in order for kids. And not only that, but academics as well, because I tell them what the double A's is, athletics and academics. And that's sports under the PNM too. So that's what I'm telling you, that many times the ideas that, especially us in the diaspora, come with, we get sold from it because them feel we come from abroad. And I see that brought a turf field in Trinidad and Tobago that cost like $7.3 million. I went to Darrell Smith with respect to turf field long time ago. I had samples, I had companies, everything. I said, boy, $7 million. I could have put on about 5 field in Trinidad for 7 point something TT dollars in Trinidad turf field. So that's what I'm saying. I'm passionate about sports. And let me finish with this one. When I go and I see people in Trinidad training in the Queen's Park Savannah, it's like it have a canal. In the track is a canal, right? That's how they mark it out. So you run either on the left of it or the right of it, and the sand track where people used to go and train and guess. Look, so you talk about sports, but that's happening under both parties.
But again, I go back to when I was a little boy, and they had Southern games and Texaco games, and we were the boys began walking in front, and this is this school, and this is wherever Hampton and all them things die out. And you see, the white people had a better, they loved. My father was a head teacher, inspector of schools. So I knew all the head teachers and I said, where are the children? Where's Mr. Telemark's son? Where's Mr. this one's son? Mr. Romilly's son? Where are they? You can't find them. They beat them down to a frazzle. Beat them down so that UNC come in for 5 years. You need my view. There's a personal view, not a UNC view. The UNC was chalk and cheese in terms of development. They make Trinidad look like a different country. Sometimes when I came back from holiday, and you're going San Fernando, I live San Fernando, you don't know where to turn to go San Fernando because it's so much overpass and underpass, you have to go quite a barrier and turn around. The country was changing. From Port of Spain to San Fernando, you see the hospital on the left, the aquatic center on the right. You had the sports thing that Jacona built, the football field. I don't know where's the name of it and whatnot. You had the other one in Maniram John. Then when you come down, you had this, that, and the aquatic center. Things were happening by 5 years. You cannot undo the PNL. If Mia Motley were Prime Minister of Trinidad, not 5 years, 10 years, Trinidad would be different. You look at I have a feeling that, I mean, when you look at the PNM front bench, D.L. Singh, all right, he was a druggist. What is his vision for health in Trinidad and Tobago? Nothing. You look at finance man, he could talk a good talk, Coleman Bird, and he is a good parliamentarian. But in terms of his philosophy, when you balance him with the finance minister in Singapore. Finance minister went to Harvard, Yale, he's a Rhodes Scholar, he's on the board of whatever. And you realize that those fellas go in there with a vision to change. Embert is what we call a bookkeeper. You get money, you spend money, you borrow money, you tax money, you think, and you balance your book, and you think, and you finish. He has no idea. Look, I'll give you a good example. Yesterday, we had meetings with the U.S. Embassy in Trinidad. The U.S. is talking about the supply chain security because they had problems with China, getting equipment, personal protective equipment and whatnot when they had the COVID. Now they realize that oil and all kind of things. So they're relocating the supply chain back to the US, Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean. You know who do have a clue about whether we should be talking to Fortune 500 companies and saying, hey, Trinidad, we willing, tell us what we will do to make it thing so you could supply, you could put part of your things here. Nothing. You talk that and they're watching you like you talking, you a madman talking. You know who is doing it? Mia Motley. She is head of UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. She's the boss lady. And she's talking to Guyana to train 6,000 people in hospitality thing and whatnot. She is talking to India to locate the Serum Institute of India, because she says that she gets 1% of the pharmaceutical market in the Western Hemisphere. She could give 50,000 jobs. Who in our government start thinking about them things? Nobody. And they're the PNM. So if we win the election, you had to start, what is the finance? What is the school? Look, I have friends in Canada and the US. Let me tell you something. Don't come to Trinidad. If you come to Trinidad, relocate to Trinidad, keep your medical thing in the States, because you're coming here to dead. If you have any serious ailment, you're coming, you're going San Fernando General Hospital, you go dead. It's a morgue.
I have quite a few friends who want to come back and buy a home. They're contemplating either Barbados or they're looking at Tobago or Grenada. They say they don't want to come to Trinidad because of the safety issue and a lot of stuff. And it's sad. It's sad. It's really, really sad. They don't want to, and they're leaning more toward Barbados or Grenada. It's sad. It's sad.
Because I love Trinidad. I want Trinidad ought to be better than Barbados. My grandmother, when she left Barbados to come to Trinidad, they left in 1927. They had a kind of recession there. And she always, Trinidad bad, Trinidad, Barbados. And we used to say, Ma, if Barbados so good, why don't go back? And she would look at you, worthless Trinidad grandchildren. And she got down to prayer with the Anglican Church and all kind of thing. We are proud Trinidadians. We know what this country can do, but it shames me. It shames me.
Under
your government, Miss my friend, under your government,
the storm.
under you are trying to
bend skin.
Yeah, Anselm. Yes, Anselm. And I have respect for you. You're brave, but I think. You, in fact, I would not ask you to join the UNC in anything. The PNM has to change from within. What the PNM has done is chase away all the educated intellectual persons. And they have a B team running it, a B team, a C team. And they've taken our country. And I give Eric Williams his credit. He had his issues, but he had a vision. He had a sense of greatness. For Trinidad, it does not exist now. Sorry to say it. If you leave America and you get it in your head to come to Trinidad, live in a safe area, because you're old and people where you're targeted and you're American and the presumption is you have money. That's one. The second thing is if you get a heart attack or something and you need medical treatment, partners, fly up to the States. Keep your dual citizenship. Help us. We need help in Trinidad. But keep your foot there in case things don't work out. I'm telling you straight. I'm telling you honestly, and I am beating around the bush.
No, that's what we like about it when you come into the village, you know, Mr. Charles, and that we keep it real in the village, you know, really and truly. We keep it real and we talk real thing because, you know, at the end of the day, boy, I can say for me, I want to see the country improve.
Yeah.
I want to see the country improve, right?
Definitely.
If I was into party, I would have never took the positions that I took because a lot of the times the positions that I take is against the PNM, you know, and I have been ostracized for that, but that's okay because we took a stand in here at WZYE 95.9 FM to stand for exile and stranded citizens. We took a stand and we stood for that. And we stood for that for a long, long time. And that was against all the policies of the PNM during the pandemic. So I wasn't looking at them and say, well, listen, as a PNM, if the PNM say this and they close down we boys and tell them to stay out there because they went on for vacation and all kind of thing and all this shit, nah, right? I ain't say that, right? And then, but Mr. Charles, we have to get out. You know what I'm saying? The people have to understand that they actually are the government. Right?
And
not really, sir. Not really, sir. That's nice talk. In Trinidad, the government is Christopher Rowley alone.
I agree with you.
Because
I don't disagree with
you. Don't fool your fat. I in Parliament and I went under the misunderstanding that I was going to make change. Not a single idea that I put forward in Parliament in the 7 years, not one idea has been taken up by the PNM.
But
so
Mr.
that you're
Charles,
coming.
Mr. Charles, Mr. Rowley, he have an expiration date. He ain't gonna be there forever. And let me tell you something, right? I don't know if you know my background. I'm a poet, so I tend to zero in on the pulse of people and my environment and stuff to write. Against the backdrop of what is going on in Trinidad and Tobago, I don't believe the PNM is going to get back in power.
Now, I hear you, but I am betting my house and land on that.
I don't believe that.
I am telling you that people will start and criticize the thing, and 3 days before the election, they get a back pay, they get a little something in their pocket, and they're finding an excuse not to vote otherwise.
They'll do like Tobago, take the trinket and still go and stick the finger in a different color ink. But watch and see. Now they look what they did them in. I'm gonna lay a chime in them in answer. Look what they did them in Tobago. Let's say the PDP expands and they get those 2 seats in Tobago. Crap will smoke the pipe. Long time. The pipe done get smoke.
Let me quietly tell you something. we noticing something with the EBC. Right? They're going to play in Trinidad and they're trying to create a seat in Central, in the Edinburgh area. Right? And they're trying to they're putting some houses in St. Joseph and they're doing something in Point-a-Pierre. You travel up on the highway here, you'll see about 2,000 houses. The PNM understands clearly how to win elections, but not how to govern. And I'll confess something to you and this is confident, well, not confident because you've gone public. The British people set this up. The Indians and the Africans were in the government. So my father was a teacher and the Indians were in business. So whenever the Indians in government, you will find business, a dollar turning, things happening, dollar for dollar, everybody getting education, laptops like things, schools built, university in South Trinidad, campus here in Tobago, Costa, all kind of things, because they know how to turn a dollar. But the experience is not in governance. The PNM understands governance, but they can't turn a dollar. But what is needed is the 2 groups. We need governance, and we need money management. So let me just tell you something. If Rowley, if Manning wanted his wife to be a minister, which is nepotism, because she got the job because she knew him. He knows how to do it. Governance. Put her as a senator, leave her there to sit down, talk ting, and then bring her in as a minister. That's his wife. So both of them getting pension now from the government. We would not be able to do that. That's one point. Second point, what Rowley could get away with in Trinidad and the PNM could get away in Trinidad, the UNC cannot get away. If we had closed down Petrotrin, I am telling you, I would have been dead today. If we had closed down Petrotrin and sent home 5,000 workers, Rowley did it. And he's going to do it in Wassa, and he's going to do it in Tech. And who is he sending home?
Africa.
Who is he sending home? The dunce don't understand that he licking up his own. And I say this not because I'm racial. I'm saying this because for Trinidad to succeed, we cannot have one group with nothing to lose if something happens in the country. So if Port of Spain burning down and Abu Bakr say, let me go and burn down Queen Street, he could get a crowd because they know that no family own anything inside there. They could burn the place down. The UNC has it difficult.
Mr. Schatz, can I ask a question? There's something called, I don't know if I'm going to say the word charrette, as a form of government where you have half of one and half of the other. I saw a movie based on that where in the South they were trying to get people to vote, and they formed a charrette. And they talked about what the people wanted. It's a French word. I may be saying it incorrect. Is it possible to have that form of government, or maybe a coalition, and some of each, and come together for the betterment of the country? Is that possible?
It is, because the country is evolving, right? There are large numbers of Africans in the UNC, and there are large numbers of, not large, but reasonable numbers of Indians in the PNM. And as I say, as the Douglas take over, and right now they're probably the majority in Trinidad, but they're young. They're under 15. You go in any primary school, I challenge you to go in any primary school, and you see, but wait now. And it was a foreigner who drew that to my attention. James Carvell, he came down to Trinidad and he was helping us with the politics. And he said that is the largest. Now, when that becomes the major group, then race will disappear from Trinidad. But that will take some time. And I'm sorry that I sound negative, because Trinidad is not all bad. I mean, we have creativity. We have Blacks. I was listening to Blacks. He died, bless his soul. And I said, but wait now, I didn't know he was so philosophical, in his music, because I always used to don't cry the calypso and how Crow and those fellas kill the calypso art form by alienating a large segment of the market. And I'm saying the young people are doing things, and as a lot of them are coming back, I do not know if they're kind of searching for the identity from the States and things. The grandchildren, you spot them and say, what are you doing here? And then you realize the fella, and they are slowly having an impact on the society. And that is the hope for Trinidad.
It's happening in Europe too, because it influenced me to write a piece, Mix and Blend, because after you mix and blend, who are you going to blame then in the end for, racial discohesiveness, if you have everybody, so I wrote a piece on that.
And the problem, I am in an East Indian constituency, and sometimes you go in the back of Debe and you see this old Indian lady and she have a little Douglas grandchild walking down. And I said, that is interesting. I have seen, and even in the diaspora, when Auntie Pinky and they meet with us and we have our funerals or weddings or whatnot, half white, half Indian, half Douglas, half African, half all kind of thing. So I think that God will solve the thing for us, because we have done the PNM has done a terrible job.
So Mr. Chuck, I wanted to go back to something, right? You talked about the People's Partnership bringing down the murder rate, right? But
Yeah.
wasn't that because the government put 6,000 black in jails and they had a state of emergency in order to do that? Wasn't that that was one of the main reasons why? For example, also we could look at 2020, right? Where Gary Griffith always talks about 2021, 2020 and 2021, where Gary Griffith always talk about one of the lowest murder rate. But the borders were closed and there was a pandemic. You know, and he doesn't want to give credit to the pandemic and the borders being closed.
But last night,
of 390.
last night our political leader put up a chart and she showed that when we were in power from 2010 to 2015, the murder rate tipped on a 400, 430, 440. The highest murder rate was before, when she came in, it was 2009, it was 550.
Yeah,
and it went on. So the white people, the boys were involved in that. So it is a fact that it goes down. Now, why it goes down? Because contrary to belief, the UNC does a lot for black people. I mean, like sport has its issues, but the intent was to throw millions behind black people. And it tells me at the side that anytime you're dealing with the underclass, you're going to have murderers and all kind of strange characters who want to kill you and do all kind of things. So it will not come out nicely. So that if you know who said so too? Dhanraj Singh told me when Pandey put him in charge of URP, he said it was the worst decision in his life because you're dealing with people who smarter than you. Them fellas didn't go to university and thing, but they're brighter than us. They have the innate and they use it street smart sense and whatnot. They tie you up so that and I'm making the point. She gave laptops. Who got the laptops? The white people and the big shots could afford it. Who got it? Is the black people? Children got it. Who got live sport? The children got it. Who got sports? When Jack did all his things with bringing Ben Hacker and whatnot. Well, they have things to say about Jack. But they had a pro football league during that time. We forget, you know. She built schools all, including Baptist schools. So that it is unfair to say that the UNC did not serve black people.
But
it is unfair to say that.
But Mr. Charles, I just wanted to back up. I wanted to go back to the murder rate. I think that's important there because.
But before you go there, Ansem, that was the propaganda being spread, you know, that Kamala was prejudiced, the UNC government was prejudiced against Africans. They're going to lock up all the black boys. Is black people churning or they're killing? Who was the police force? Who was the police force?
Who gave her the advice? Gary wasn't there.
That is the propaganda that spinned. That is the propaganda that spinned against the PPG government, the Indians locking up the Africans.
Yeah. So my view is that was the setup by the police, the TTPS. And Anselm and Gary, all you know that in Trinidad. I have cousins and whatnot in the police service. And you know the ethnic, and they're PNM, and they tell you that. They tell you that they're PNM. So that, right. One moment. I'm trying to charge this battery.
Yeah, no problem. I don't agree with the race thing, especially when we go to something I was going to try to get back to as well, with respect to the army and the makeup of the army and the police force. But I just wanted to address the crime statistics, you know, from 2010. Yeah, you take off your article.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when 2000 the crime. Yes, sir.
You take off your camera.
No, I'm down in a dark room because I came down to try and get the charger.
Okay, no problem. No problem. That's all right.
So I'll remedy that in a moment.
All right,
Susan,
no problem. Listen to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Mr. Charles, in 2010, when you guys came into office, there was 485 murders, right?
And then put yourself up in the meantime now.
Huh?
Put yourself up in the meantime until he comes back on. Put yourself in the camera.
Yeah. All right, cool. That's a good idea. All right. Let me all right. So let's put it there like that. All right, and we wait for him to come back. So in
right, I'm back.
All right. So listen to this, right? And this is why I like for us to have discussions. And we need to have more discussions like these in Trinidad and Tobago. All right. And I sat on a committee here in Southern Jamaica called the Community Coalition on Race.
Correct.
And we sat and we discussed issues of race in the community and how we can all live together for the betterment of the community.
Correct.
That's what we did. And in the end, it worked out fantastic. But let me say this, right? In 2010, there was 485 murders, right? In
Good.
2011, there was 354. There was a reduction.
Right. That remember I told you that's 100 with the two white fellows.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in 2012, it went from 354 to 383.
Right.
In 2013, it went to 408. In 2014, it was 403. And then in 2015,
Watch that now.
410.
403. Now the PNM came into power. Let's get it year by year.
In 2015, they came into power in September 2015.
Yes,
right?
so forget 2015, we start 2016.
2015. In 2016, it was 463. But think about this now. In 2016, 463, that is Stephen Williams. Right?
Go on.
It went from 410 to 463. In 2017, it was 494. So, right?
Well, you see, I'm not saying Stephen Williams, I saying PNM.
So now listen to this, right?
You say Williams, I say PNM.
No,
and you're bringing, you are solidifying the point that Kamala made last night that I'm making, that during PNM time, murders go up. We could debate what is the cause of that and the reasons, but I have my reasons. It may not be but go on.
But if we go back in
17,
time,
go to 17 again.
Right. 2017 is 494.
Right. So we're going back up to 500. Right. Go on.
In 2018 was 516.
So you see,
right? Which was the second highest murder rate in the history of Trinidad and Tobago.
In the history of the country, 2009 was the highest.
2009, 550. 2008,
that's the
actually. 2008, 508. Right.
Okay.
So now listen to this, right? All right. We are saying that PNM was in power that time and the murder rate goes up. But if you go back in history, you will see also that under the PNM, there has been very low murder rates as well. However, when we come from 2008, beginning in 2008, right, all the way up to 2019, right, murder rates have been increasing. Right, there's been some fluctuation between a year, but it has been increasing. So that tells me, right, it's not just the government alone.
No. Yep. No, you're misreading the statistics. You just presented statistics to tell me that when the PNM is in power, the murder rate goes up. And when the UNC is in power, it goes down. That is the only macro lesson that you could draw from the data that you presented. Right? And I am saying what is required now is a clinical analysis of why is this phenomenon existing. I am saying it could be two things, that we were in a boom year, so money was flowing and whatnot. That could be one interpretation. The other interpretation is that the PNM, and I think I am on solid grounds here, and I think Sheldon Rand book, when he was dealing with crime in the urban areas and whatnot, and he was saying that there needs to be a holistic, the PNM doesn't understand, and I'm being kind here. They do not understand that to solve crime, you need an all-of-government approach. Edmund Dillon said that. You cannot have families broken up all over the place. All over the place broken up and expect the children to succeed. You cannot close the schools and not give the children laptops, because who is suffering? My grandchildren I'll make sure they get computers to do online training.
And nourishment.
And nourishment. Now, when the PNM doesn't understand, and I don't know, you try to call them and tell them, when you have 3,000 young men, mostly black, in remand, which means they're innocent until proven guilty, they're waiting on trial. Your main job is to do many things. One, stop the pipeline from these failing schools to the prisons. That is one, crime prevention. Once you're there, you have them captured there. You try to change their mindset. And that requires psychologists. It requires skilled people. Here's where the diaspora could help. You don't require no lady who feels she likes children to go in there and talk. You need professionals to go in there, right? And then what you do is make sure that you do things like, if it's a minor crime like marijuana, and many times police push marijuana in their pocket and lock up the fella, or he like the fella girl, so you want him out of the way so he will have freedom with the girl, them things happening. So you have fellas inside there. These 3,000 fellas could probably impact 15,000 children who are PNM children. And they do not see that their work, Heinz ain't have a clue that his work is to make sure that 15 who he have captured, he give them a sense of purpose, a sense of self-esteem, and a sense of value. So when they go back into society, they could do things, PNM could do things like saying, for example, we reserve 5% of all government contracts for them fellas. But them fellas, the PNM will not do that. They give it to the 1%. I'm telling you that. They're giving it, the PNM does not care about poor black people.
Several recommendations I have there. Several recommendations are here.
That's a broad accusation, you know.
And I stand by it. I stand by it because I have evidence. So if Stuart Young is in Port of Spain North, he is in the Belmont area. And when we check the data for people,
Isn't Stuart Young sentence?
I wouldn't bet my money on it. These days I'm forgetting things. But whatever constituency, those PNM, Port of Spain North, Port of Spain South, watch. Fitzgerald Hines went into Fitzgerald Hines. A little boy, misguided, minister come, he kick water on him. He lock him up. Jail him, not jail him, but lock him. That was a teaching moment. He should have find somebody in the old lady and say, you is the grandmother of this boy. I want to talk to him. Let him come. I want to know. Boy, you know what you do, boy. You know what I could do to you, but I ain't doing that. Here, if you agree to do so and so, I will give you X, Y, and Z. Let me give you one example. When the white boys, in the United States, when the GI boys came back from the Second World War, they created the GI Bill and give them fellas all kind of things, school loan, education, and they move American whites. Blacks didn't get it so significantly from being agriculturalists and little boys in Kansas and Ohio into a knowledge-driven society. So they build all them university, state university, all kind of things. Why we can't? Them fellas, they give them a trade. Okay, you get a trade. When you get the trade, you will get $5,000 because them fellas are doing it, right? So we paying you to go $90 a day. When you graduate, you get $5,000. And once you graduate, you have access to 5% of all the government contracts. But you see that the 1% don't want that. And the PNM will never allow that. But that is what they had the GI Bill that gave contracts to returning veterans at the first, Second World War. They give them education and all sorts of things. Why we can't have a kind of affirmative action for them boys? Who will stop it?
Yeah,
let me tell you something.
But Rodney, Mr. Charles, now if you have affirmative action, other people now go complain in Trinidad that you're giving people preferential treatment. That's what going to be complaint now. And they go complain.
Hold it. If you put it as a preference, you put it for everybody. Because let me also tell you, they're poor Indian fellas in back poor, dirt poor too. Poor.
I hear you.
So you do it, you do it for all the poor people. Let me tell you something. Why I always say the colonial masters treated us better than the PNM government. And I put in the PNM government. When we were growing up, all my uncles and they were going to St. Madeleine Sugar Factory trade school. And then some went to Shell trade school. Some went to Texaco trade school. And those foreigners trained them fellas into welders and whatnot. I have 4 uncles. One and a friend, Mr. Coy. When he went up to Canada and he showed them welding, They tell him come back to Trinidad, and his job was to recruit people from Trinidad to go to Canada, to do welding in Canada. So good were they when they were trained under the colonials that they were as good as or better than the Canadians. So much so they banned Mr. Coy from going in Texaco compound because he was taking all the workers, all the skilled workers, and sending them to Canada. Mr. Coy died about 2 years ago. And he was responsible for about ton loads of Trinidadians migrating to Toronto. So it tells me that the colonial masters had a system, Shell Trade School, Texaco Trade School. They had Shell, Texaco, St. Madeleine Sugar Factory. You get a trade, you do. They had a thing called national exams and higher nationals and whatnot. They had a system. And the brightest in Shell was sent to university. And this gentleman who was the president of Trinidad, Max Richards, he was a Shell scholar. And I know that because I worked in Trinidad, which was Shell and Point. He was a Shell scholar. So they had, the top went to Oxford. He went to Oxford and Cambridge. The middle went to wherever, polytechnics in England. The lower fellas went to trade school. And they were given a job straight when they graduate from the trade school. So they had a system for these fellas. What system we have? What system does Heinz have for Chumakak, young boys?
System nothing.
Yeah. System nothing. And they don't see it as their bounden duty to help these people. And I say this, I'm not racial. I believe you not better than me, and I not better than you. Right? And if you feel you better than me, then you have a problem. I'm not stupid enough to know. I probably, some of us, because we grow up with a headmaster father, he beat you in school and you had to pass your exam and he beat you and whatnot. But I wasn't the brightest. But I'm lucky. But if I were born in one of the church, my mother was a drug addict and my father in prison, I would have been on the streets. I would have been on the streets.
Top of the hour.
So, Mr. Charles, can you hold it for another few minutes or so? We're going to go for a quick station identification. We have with us MP Rodney Charles from Naparima with us. It's in the village with the DAG Triplets and WZYE 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. Stick and sit, don't go nowhere. When we come back, Mr. Charles, I want to ask you one or two questions regarding when you were UN ambassador and the meeting with Ms. Marie Le Pen. We'll be right
You're
back.
listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio. WZYE 95.9 FM.
To the DAG Triplets and WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us MP for Naparima, Mr. Rodney Charles. Now let's go back to when you were UN ambassador, right? When you met with the French opposition, did you do that in your private capacity or did you do that as a representative of the government?
I did it as a diplomat at the UN. Now, let me explain. It wasn't Rodney Charles alone. It was 18 or so ambassadors, including the ambassador for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Camilo Gonzalez. That's Ralph Gonzalez's son. He was there, a brilliant fellow, lawyer and whatnot, born in Canada and whatnot. He's now the finance minister of St. Vincent right now, as we speak. He sat next to me in the meeting. So therefore, and there's a way, this is why Dr. Rowley doesn't think, because he could be setting up I could ask Mr. Ralph Gonzalez if his son attending that meeting brought St. Vincent into disrepute, but I won't go there because I'm a Trinidadian. At the UN, in diplomacy, you meet with everybody, left, right, and center. So when they told us that Marine Le Pen was coming and she's a right-wing, I said, okay, let me see, because you know what we were picking up at the UN were a right-wing movement throughout the world. In the United States, I think it led to Trump eventually, and you know about the right-wing, whatnot. It was pervasive in in Europe. And I said, let us meet her and confront her. And we confronted her in terms of Islamophobia, because the French, there's a large number of people and I think they have some laws against the hijab and whatnot. So I wanted to confront her. She's a nationalist. meaning that France for French people and not foreigners, and she's anti-immigration. But what I found her to be not as I thought she would be, a racist and I have been told now that she put her father out of the party. He's dead now. She put him out of the party. She has fired the anti-Semites in the party. She has toned down her perspective on racism. Le Pen, and you could check this, you could Google this. And I feel that her having to confront people like us, ambassadors like us, forced her to think, to realize that she cannot live in that world. Now, so Dr. Rowley is saying I alone went, which is nonsense, absolute nonsense. I was met with Marine Le Pen, which is part of my job. I wrote a report and said, look, this is Marine Le Pen. She got 30% of the vote, 30% of the French vote. She could be president. We need in our thing to monitor the right-wing movement. We have citizens in the States, in England and whatnot. If this thing gets out of hand, we could have people coming back to Trinidad and whatnot. So tell our diplomats in Europe to monitor, bear in mind, see what they could do. So that is what I did. Lo and behold, Dr. Rowley is saying, I met a racist and whatnot. Let me tell you, I have been at the UN because I was a vice president of the United Nations and I acted as president of the General Assembly because I took an open view. I didn't go there to talk to Caribbean diplomats alone. I spoke to Serbians. The Serbian Vuk Jeremic invited me to go and work with them in Serbia, but I wouldn't go because Serbia is close to Russia. I have been in the Russian embassy house, Chinese embassy. I remember a day I was in the Indian ambassador's house, and he and the ambassador of Pakistan were talking, and they have nuclear weapons pointed at each other, and 500,000 troops line up to fight each other as they spoke. But that is what the UN is about. President Biden this week had a meeting with the president of Poland, and they spoke cordial thing. They are miles apart. Poland is a right-wing, and he has done a lot of things to anti-democratic things to the media and the press and all sorts of things. He's at odds right now with the EU and Hungary and Poland. But in diplomacy, you speak with everybody, people who you like or do not like. You do not speak with only your friends. And look, when Nixon was president of the United States, he had many meetings with Zhou Enlai of China, and that was in the midst of the Cold War, and they broke the ice. And he went to China and opened up relations with China. So again, Dr. Rowley doesn't understand that you do not have to like Guyana president in order to engage them in the interest of Trinidad and Tobago. So when I went to the UN and they started raising a noise in Trinidad and I talked to my ambassadors, they just stoops and ignore. This is your country. What's that? You are telling me as an ambassador, I must only speak to the British and the French and whatnot. I spoke to everybody who wanted to talk to me. And I made sure that I always kept Capital, that's Port of Spain, briefed on all the discussions and interactions and the implications of Trinidad and Tobago.
So,
and
Mr.
I think
Charles,
that is my job.
So, Mr. Charles, are you saying that
Yes.
the Prime Minister tell an untruth or lied when he said you were the only one that met with
He
Mr.
lied.
Marine Le Pen?
He lied. You must try to get to Camilo Gonzalez and ask him if he sat next to me in the meeting. He would be a diplomat and he wouldn't probably not answer.
What
But
about
I could
lunch or
tell you.
dinner? What about lunch or dinner? Just you and her only. Lunch or dinner?
No way. Trinidad is unimportant. You feel she will come to the UN and sit down and talk with Rodney Charles alone from Trinidad, 1.3 million people? Don't get carried away with BS from Rowley. Don't get carried away. It was a group of us, and it was a point of let's exchange ideas. And I come from an academic background, and I like to talk to people who are different to me. My friends are diverse, Hindus, Muslim, PNM and all. And we engage. We disagree, but we engage. So Rowley he's showing his limited sense of diplomacy. So Winston Churchill said, diplomacy is the art of telling a man to go to hell, and he asks for directions. No, that is diplomacy. That is diplomacy. So when he talks that nonsense, he could talk that in Trinidad, but he cannot go to the UN. If you are appointed to the UN and the Russian ambassador says he wants to talk to you, what are you going to tell him? I'm not going to talk to you because Russia killing people in Ukraine. If Kim Jong-un says, Rodney, I want to talk to you, I will, why you want to talk to me? I will say, okay, let me hear what he has to say. I wouldn't dismiss it out of hand. That is yesterday dotish politics. And that is what has Trinidad isolated right now. He cussed, Rowley cussed, took umbrage to the American ambassador. Whether you like the American ambassador or not, Monday, there's a certain way in diplomacy you let your negatives be known, but not openly like that. He has insulted Guyana. He has insulted all CARICOM leaders by saying they went to get vaccines. And if they went to get, he says, they're beggars. Rowley said so. They are beggars. Motley was given vaccines. She, out of the goodness of her heart, gave 2,000 to Trinidad. You know what Trinidad said? She had to do it because Barbados is a hub, and she had to give it. Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, I am embarrassed and shamed for Trinidad, where Trinidad has reached in terms of the global arena. When he speaks when Kamala Prasad was Prime Minister, Xi Jinping made the first country visited in the Western Hemisphere was, guess which country? Trinidad. Xi Jinping. He didn't go to the US, you know. He didn't go to Canada, you know. He didn't go to Mexico. He came to Trinidad and Tobago, first country. And the Americans got jealous. And the week after, they begged. And guess who came from the United States to meet Kamala Prasad? A week or two after. Biden. President Biden. You think Xi Jinping coming to Trinidad now? You think Biden coming to Trinidad? And fairness to the PNM, when Manning was there and he had the Summit of Americas, everybody came to Trinidad. Right now, we are a pariah. We are laughing stock in the country. And Rowley could make those statements. Rodney Charles, how could you make a statement? If I had no dinner with her, she will not have dinner with me.
So here's
Trinidad is unimportant.
So do you think the Guyanese government was fearing your criticism of Trinidadians?
I would say yes. But I would say diplomatically, it could have been done differently. But I think they had reached a stage now where they don't care.
Tell it like
when
it
they
is.
reached a stage, in diplomacy, I will engage you because, you know, the neighbor and I, we need to talk because if a thief comes in the area, they will protect you. But if I reach a stage that you are against me, I will avoid you. I would avoid you. And I think Guyana has reached that stage.
They're gonna the waters are, because I remember there was a time where they had Barbados and Trinidad. They had a little bit of tussle over the flying fish migrated to Tobago, and that was an issue.
Right.
So I think there are going to be issues over Trinidad and Guyana now.
Yes, because we are close to Venezuela and Maduro. He is criticizing me for having lunch, he says, with Le Pen. Nobody suffered anything from that, but he had with Delcy, and we almost could have been sanctioned by the United States. Which is more dangerous? He went to Qatar and had a meeting with Iran, and by legal notice 1044, 2 years ago, we passed sanctions against Iran. And I remember that because I went up to the UN saying, why would we be doing that? And they say, well, because Trump was pressuring us and whatnot. So that he's meeting with He is meeting with the president of Iran. Of all the governments you could find to talk to is Iran, boy. Not to say anything negative, but that is clearly problematic.
They're an enemy of the United States, though. And Iran is meeting with Venezuela, and Venezuela is meeting with Russia. But I want to draw another point to you.
So let me tell you why the Guyanese is also vexed. And this is where you see Rowley doesn't understand. When you play ball with Venezuela, and Venezuela has laid claim to all the region west of the Essequibo, almost a third of Venezuela, a third of Guyana, and that's the oil-bearing part of Guyana. So why you talking about Le Pen? And if I were the Guyanese government, I would be saying, but wait now. If Guyana has not renounced its claim as of today, when the International Court of Justice ruled in Guyana's favor, Venezuela didn't recognize the court and its ruling. That means that court, that claim is in abeyance waiting for the appropriate time to activate. Venezuela has 31 million persons. Air Force, which is second only to Brazil and Argentina and Chile in that area. We are next door to them. So let me also tell you the kind of problems. We shot a child, the Coast Guard, a Venezuelan child. Right? I listen to the Venezuelan television broadcast and whatnot, and Venezuela is harboring a hatred for the way we in Trinidad treat the migrants, how we treat the women, how is human trafficking, how we shoot and instead of rolling foreign policy, look at that and say, okay, let's develop a foreign policy that recognizes our absorptive capacity, and limits, that recognizes who are the qualified persons around them and engage them, that talks about our international treaty obligations, and that's the UN Convention on the rights of migrants and the rights of refugees. We're breaking all of them. We're not educating the people, children. So that instead of looking at the Venezuelans here as an opportunity to make Trinidad bilingual, because teachers coming over and pumping gas and prostituting themselves and all sorts of things. Instead of an enlightened government would say, well, these people are coming to Trinidad. They speak Spanish. We are deficient in Spanish, but our future requires us to trade with that whole Latin America, South America, millions or hundreds of millions of citizens. That is where our future is. You know, they have them running on, and somewhere down the line, Venezuela is going to exact vengeance on Trinidad. I don't want it to happen. I don't want it to happen. And what will be hurtful is that we will have fifth columnists here because they're children born to the Venezuelan migrants who are citizens of Trinidad, who not been educated. And I had to tell Rowley that. Rowley, no, he must be brighter than me, have more resources than me. So that Venezuela, you friending with the enemy of Guyana, who has a claim on Guyana. If Venezuela decides to send its army to claim that territory, where will we stand? Where will Trinidad, what will be our foreign policy? Pro-Guyana, who is a fellow CARICOM country, and we have treaty obligations to defend them, or Maduro and Delcy, who he has a relationship with. And I'm telling you, there's no thought, no thinking in our foreign policy.
So, Mr. Charles, you brought up the issue with the Venezuelan, right? I was very disappointed in your leader in that it was sort of she was kind of contrary with describing, when she described the murder, when she described the killing of the baby as murder. However, with the 4 divers that died, she called it an accident. To me, the accident was what happened with the baby, in that the Coast Guard didn't go out there to kill a baby. But in Paria, they left 4 divers to die.
Well, you see, again,
I think she got it wrong.
Again, this is where Guyana say our institutions are falling down. One would have expected the Coast Guard, hearing a sensitive thing like that, to be on their P's and Q's. They beat up Grenadians, beat up, merciless, bust their eye, and all kind of thing. So I am, you see me? The jury is out. There is an investigation, and I asked in Parliament, where's that report? And I get a song and dance. Now, Venezuelans say that they want an independent. You cannot have the Coast Guard investigating the Coast Guard. You understand? That requires you bringing people from the U.S. Coast Guard. The thing, when Eric Williams had the coup in the Black Power riots, he brought in Dan Juma. Remember his name? Dan Juma from Ghana and all them fellas. You're bringing outside
but Mr. Charles, but don't you think your leader went a little overboard with calling that a murder? And
the lady is reacting to information which you and I do not have, right? And it seems to me that it was either gross negligence, murder. Them fellas, I know what they're doing, and a lot of things not making sense. Let the evidence. She has evidence and information that people will give to her that they wouldn't give to me. I get information on certain things that nobody else know and how to keep quiet. I went, so that I reserve judgment on that. The question with the divers, I reserve judgment on that too, because I operate on data. Let the evidence tell me.
I have a couple questions. You guys hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was Mr. Charles, I take issue with the fact that the length of years that we in the oil business and that type of work being done in Trinidad and Tobago, that we didn't see it fit to have the Coast Guard trained and equipped to respond to an underwater emergency like it is. I take serious issue with that. Beside the pariah not being capable or being irresponsible in having things organized, I felt that my Coast Guard should have been able to take charge. I felt that the Minister of Energy should have gotten together with the Minister of National Security, whether it was inside or outside the country, and communicate with the Minister of National Security where we get certain resources on board to formulate an effective emergency response. I think they were just sitting around. I didn't see the prompt response I would have liked to see, and I'm very disappointed. Besides in the investigation of the pariah, I'm calling for an investigation how the government handled this. At what time frame was the Minister of Energy notified? What time frame was the Minister of National Security notified? What time frame was the Prime Minister notified? And what actions did they take? These are the things I want to see. And being that you're in Parliament, these are the kind of questions I would like you to pose. I know they might want to throw you out of the Parliament for it, but these are the kind of things I am looking forward to you posing to the government. This is what we want to know.
I promise you I'll do that. Let me just give you a little...
And you could tell them I asked the question.
I will tell them so. But here, for a question to be allowed in Parliament, I have to write the Speaker. So, Speaker, I would like to ask this question. Yeah. And she has to approve it. I'm telling you,
Mr. Charles, hold and pull up again. You mean you got to write the Speaker to ask a pertinent question?
And they change the question. Sometimes they change it. So my colleague Munilal got up and read, Madam Speaker, which question you want me to read? The one I submitted, or the one that they asked me to read? I'm telling you that we backward. And here, when you ask a question, the supplemental, she has to approve it, and you have 10 seconds. So 10 seconds, and you can't give no background on it. You have to just ask the question. So that's why I had to run through the question. This lady went to that, she got that. You went to that, you didn't get that. And she ready to stop me because I exceeded the 10 seconds.
That's not right.
That little children thing, we have a little children parliament. And then when you're talking, you can't talk on this, you can't talk on that.
Yeah,
I be careful of my talking here. I have to be careful because I could be brought before privileges for bringing Parliament into this.
What do you mean brought before privileges?
I'm telling you, and the privileges is the majority of members are the PNM. We'll have 2 members, they will have 6 or something like that. I could be. So therefore, once you go to privileges, they put you out for 6 months.
Then I'm question that you asked it on the public platform. Then these are the questions that we are interested in.
Correct.
Can they have a public platform where people could ask questions then? And I want to be on that platform.
Correct. because everything, when the vice president of Guyana, Bharat Jagdeo, who studied in Moscow, so he has a different system. We have the syllogistic, them have the didactic, and the this and the that and the other. It's a way of logic. He is saying that our systems have collapsed and Trinidad has to face up. My friend talked about the Coast Guard. Nothing is making sense with the Coast Guard. Nothing. So when my leader says it's murder, until I get evidence to the contrary, which it doesn't seem I will get, because he dilly-dallying with the report, and the report is not an independent report. They will cook the books inside the Coast Guard. It means that Trinidad, the institution of the Coast Guard, going there and telling them they can't go and all that, it just collapse.
Yeah, but there is nothing.
And
to
all you're
warrant.
lucky, all you're living in a country that I know you all have problems with police and race and whatever and profiling and all those things. But we have problems here with just living exist. You get problems with the immigration. I get problems in every ministry. I'm a UNC. So when I go, I get in a lecture. Come here, go to that door. You're in the wrong place. All sorts. I get audited. My phone, I'm sure, is bugged.
So listen,
because when I get up in Parliament to read a speech,
when I get up and listen, but the fact that I want to know what justify the Coast Guard shooting at immigrants coming to our border in distress,
and beating up,
and you want to hear more?
What
the vessel that they have, the main vessel sent out interceptor, but the main vessel has thermal imaging that could tell you if an ant's in the next boat in the middle of the night.
That's right.
Why it has a thing to film it. It has things to film it. So they could have filmed it and they could have said, all right, and we could have seen them ramming the boat and we could have said, all right, yeah, boy, the boy do that. Where is that? Like body cams. They have no body cams in Trinidad. And I asked the police Friday, Fitzgerald Hines, it's in today's Newsday.
Oh God.
Why you don't have people not allowed to, what is the policy with taking photographs if policemen are doing their work? And he almost said that if you interfere with the police, you could get jail and whatnot and whatever. What he should have said is that we and in all of that, we less than 2% of our police officers have body cams. So is this country, all you're lucky, all you're living
in an incident is the better. That is where the police can gather that information. The more information
and
you have,
if they're clean and everything is above board, no problem. It helps us to have confidence in the police because we have family with police too. So why the Coast Guard didn't turn on the cameras so that they could have filmed the thing? Why they didn't use thermal imaging? Why you have to shoot when you know if the thermal imaging would, because they have a state of the art. It means the two boats they bought in Australia, state of the art, could outrun
a pirogue.
I'm fed up. A pirogue loaded with people. Nothing making sense. But in Trinidad, and you all, like my wife is telling me, why I'm not going back into politics? Because I can't spend, I'm 73 when this thing finished, when I'm 75. Can't spend the latter years of my life beating my head against a wall. I have to get, you have seen in Parliament where the speaker tell me, come back, apologize, look serious like if you're apologizing. That's humiliation. Yes.
But they need an MP like me up in there.
And then they would put you out. They'll put you out. And
ain't nobody putting me out of there.
They'll put you out.
I would play their game to the max.
So that's what we're doing. That's why you chuck a question to the Prime Minister before they catch you.
We were not chucking no game.
So let me just
get on my nerve with chuck question.
So I think Mr. Charles, the Venezuelans can stay and work for up to 1 year, right? That's accurate. And is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But isn't it also accurate that the Trinidad government has always been the back Guyana in its claim with Venezuela, and that has not changed today?
Yes. Well. When the issue last arose, we supported Guyana because the Prime Minister was head of CARICOM, and yes, he did support Guyana. But you see, it is not what you say; it is what you do, right? And if you're doing things with Delcy, and let me also tell you, there's a suspicion.
we still back in Guyana, though. It's not like we don't. It's not like we're not back in Guyana.
I am sure.
You kind of make it seem like we ain't supporting Guyana, but
you sure about that? You sure we back in Guyana? Well, Guyana does not.
The position have always been to support Guyana,
well, Guyana does not feel so, and if you feel Guyana feels so, we're in a different world because Guyana is telling Trinidad. And Dr. Rowley did not go to Guyana, and he went to Qatar. Why did he not go to Guyana? Right? Guyana has downgraded their mission in Trinidad from a high commission.
Yeah, but also, Mr. Charles, the president came out and said there has been no conflict because they asked him why wasn't Trinidad in Guyana, because your party was saying that the government wasn't invited, and that was untrue.
He was invited and he turned them down.
Right, the president of Guyana said there is no conflict.
That is a diplomatic slap. That is a diplomatic slap.
Will Smith.
That is a Will Smith. That's a in diplomacy, you have certain things that people look at. Like, for example, when I went to the UN and I wouldn't go to some functions and what, and they'll say, Mr. Charles, you have a problem with us because they keep tabs on how many times you turn them down. If the Queen invites you, you have to find a reason, a good reason not to be there, right? And if you get before the Queen, it is not that the Queen arrived late, it's you arrive early. There are certain things in diplomacy we don't understand. You cannot turn down the government invited you. And they were very diplomatic because if they're in Trinidad, have a problem. They still invite you. You have to suck salt. That is diplomacy. You know they don't like you. I have been in functions in the UN talking to them in the United States, and I know they don't like me. I could sense it, but I have to go through the motions. I've been invited. I have to pretend and smile, shake hands, talk nice talk, and head over. Mix but don't mingle.
And I just wanted to clarify something else, right? The trade schools were a result of a P&M policy under Eric Williams.
Where that come out from? Where that come out from? You telling me the shell trade schools? The shell trade schools?
All I'm just clarifying that. It was. I'm just saying that it was the trade school was under a P&M policy under Dr. Eric Williams. That's all I'm saying.
Oh God.
I am saying it was a policy of the colonial government. And I have names, places, people, uncles who went to the trade school. It was a way of getting a job. You learn a trade if you're going, you did 7th standard, and from 7th standard, you either went to Texaco Trade School, Shell Trade School, Forest Reserve, and if you could play football, you got on the team and you got a job. And a lot of the tradesmen who graduated from that system went to Canada and the United States.
And here's my last question. Here's my last question. What if there was political interference in the exam result and university placement by the UNC?
That is stupidness. That right now the exams are written by the CXC in Barbados. They correct them by foreigners. Why do we fall for this P&M nonsense? We need to do what we need to do.
Which exams?
The exams, the A levels, or what we in my time used to call A levels, O levels, and the other one.
And why are they saying that the UNC is influencing that?
You're not being fair though. Because
I'm not being fair. So you don't go and say that because the exams in CXC.
It's a question. It's not a
okay. Well, the answer is if there is UNC involvement, we're not in power now. And secondly, the marks come in the past. It used to come from Cambridge, University of Cambridge. Send down the list and say these people. And I worked in the Ministry of Education with Cotty Joseph. There's the list. There's the top person in that. There's the top person in that. And right now that comes from Barbados. So if you look, you would see that we beat everybody in the Caribbean or Guyana or won in Discord in agricultural science. That is nonsense. The PNM must not, they pass these little rumors. The PNM must not get away from the fact that they have to start to help the black people, to have stable families, to give them jobs, to give them a sense of pride. This is what Eric did for me. Because I always wanted to be like Eric, with I'm brighter than he, and thing, and it's what I'm in my head. And Eric used to say the future of the nation is in the book bag of the children, and my parents beat us to make sure we live up to that kind of thing. Now,
I have a
under
question
the
here on
PNM.
this. Why is this saying this? Is that
Gary,
because
1 minute, Gary? I just wanted to quickly follow up on Mr. Charles.
no? But I want to know where we're going with this exam and UNC interference.
This is
it was a question.
So that is that the propaganda they're spreading that the Indian children are scoring higher?
This has nothing to do with scoring higher. The only how you get answers is to ask a question.
No, I'm just trying to understand where they're going with, because that's the kind of propaganda that's spread in the country.
All right.
The challenge is that the government doesn't recognize that the government schools must have good teachers. They must have systems in place. They must have computers. They must have when you lay off all these people in T and Tech and in Petrotrin and in Wassa, who are you affecting? And do you expect those children to compete with the middle class 1% and the upper middle class? Cannot.
But Mr. Charles, here's my last question, right? Now, I always talk about economic development, economic empowerment, economic inclusion, right? Economic empowerment, economic development, and economic inclusion and access to capital for black people and black businesses. I always ask, where is the PNM policy for that? But you know why? You know what people will say? Because we know in Trinidad that black people are the bottom of the barrel. As a matter of fact, Mrs. Kamala Prasad-Processor had asked Dr. Rowley, when is he going to do something for the poor black people in Trinidad and Tobago as a black man and as a prime minister? Mrs. Kamala Prasad-Processor asked Dr. Rowley that. But you know what? You know what people are going to say now? Well, and some, you only want to talk about black people, right? But is the black people are the bottom of the barrel. This is not
Kamala is interested. Kamala has told me that the solution to Trinidad problem lies in Laventille and the East-West Corridor. We have to deal with that. That is a national issue. So when you know who developed COSTAT? Pandey developed COSTAT, because COSTAT was designed to grade people who drop out of the system at secondary school. They had a makeup, and I was involved in that, a makeup program, so you could move from 4 O levels to full O levels to A levels and enter the university system. Who is killing that now? Who is killing COSTAT because they don't understand that we cannot, and so because of all kinds of reasons, we can't make. So Pandey develop a system. COSTAT is a community college. And you get, when we started, when we started, it was an associate degree. And under Kamala, they made it a full degree. And you see, every time Kamala comes to help, I don't know. I really don't know. We own problem.
Thank you. Somewhere along the line, we must take responsibility for ourselves also. You must take responsibility for yourself and your action. And decide, is this where I want to be? Is this what I want for the rest of my life? Come on, Anselm. Yeah, access to capital, access to economic. I am from a black race improving. But sometimes you just have to pull yourself up. You have to pull yourself up.
Wait a minute. You disagree with me now about
I disagree with you.
I agree with Anselm. I'm agreeing with Anselm to the extent that you need help. You need help from the state.
Martin Luther King says, how can you pull myself up by the boot up when you leave me bootless?
You pull yourself up by the toenail.
Martin Luther King said that. I am shocked that you disagree with me. You always talk about that all the time.
I am not disagreeing with you, Anselm, but there's some point in time you have to say, I know about that. I know about poverty and not having. And I decided, let me finish now.
But
I decided I'm going to do, hello. I didn't have no help from my papi or my mommy.
I grew up in Chumaka.
All right. And I decided to do something for myself as a young girl.
All
right? The opportunities were there for me. I could have gone and hang out in a bar. Right?
But Diane,
I could have gone and hang out on Murray Street and sell my acre of land if I wanted to. But I did not do that.
Right, Diane, you wouldn't accept that in addition to that, pulling yourself up and having a sense of purpose, it would help if the society understands the problems you face. No father in prison, they need to bring him back and give him a sense of purpose and a sense of family and things like that. You do not, that will help the process, because the problem with your approach is one will succeed out of every 10. And you find that, and the girls in Trinidad are outperforming the boys because for all kinds of reasons. You're going to any class, university, and so the girls can't get a husband now because the boys not up to scratch.
But you have to want it for yourself. You have to want it and desire it. Because I'm telling you that when I ran away from the abusive home, there were all kind of opportunities. Hey, darling, how you looking? So all kind of things they wanted to make.
I told you that you're an outlier. You're an outlier.
No, but this problem
don't tell me I'm no outlier, because there are a lot of girls that end up on the wrong side of the track.
But I like the discussion today, and I think it comes from a deep. All of us in our way we want to make a difference. All of us want to help, and I think discussions like this help us to, because I have said some things which tonight I will reflect on and say maybe I should not have said it that way and those sorts of things. But it helps me to rethink how I could make a difference. I think all of us, because at the end of the day, UPNM and IUNC, we have the same goal, Trinidad and Tobago, and it's improvement. You're diaspora, I am back home, and all of us have to help and think and make noise and get on bad to make it happen.
We have to be able to consolidate the resources. This is the objective here. We have to be able to consolidate the resources. We have to find a way to unite the diaspora, which is we are trying to do, and the government of Trinidad and Tobago has to recognize that the asset that they have outside the country.
But Mr. Charles, before you go, right, this is I think what we get out of this is that, you could come into here and we could have a respectful discussion, right?
Correct.
There are things that we may be opposed to as far as the party you support and who we support, but we have a very respectful discussion. I ain't calling you no name yet.
No.
Right?
And I ain't calling you no name neither, because I respect you. I respect you, Gary, Diane, and yourself. I think deep down, all of you want to help Trinidad. And we have to find a way to work together to make it happen. And forget the stupidness that I am black, he's Indian, he is this, you are diaspora, I down here, I am parliamentarian. We have to find a way, else Trinidad oil is going to run out of Trinidad and Tobago. And even if we have oil, they move into sustainable energy. So the oil wouldn't matter.
Mr. Charles, and I come from the Trinidad and Tobago where, like I said, Dr. Vishnu Raghunath's mother provided my uniform and books and things for me to go to St. Augustine Girls High. So I come from, I grew up in St. Augustine with Indians. I went to school with Indian girls that share her lunch with me. You understand? This is the Trinidad and Tobago I know. So I cannot be racist against my Indian people. My Indian people look out for me. And I'm not racist against my African people because my African papi is a no good lying piece of whatever. His brother looked out for me. So, I come from a Trinidad and Tobago where I had Indian friends, Chinese friends, and we all was one. And I don't know where this come from.
But wait, I just want to say this.
I was the only one in the class with the Bajan accent.
But Diana, I want to say this, and this is part of the problem that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. Here's a comment from Joan Jadubir. Wall Street, stop this Lavantil talk, please. Fed up of hearing one thing over and over. You see the problem? You see the problem? Right? Joan wants me to stop talking about Lavantil. Right? So, but you see, I have to say this, and I get passionate about this. That's part of the problem. Right? They want me to stop talking about Chumaka Lavantil. Go in the corner like little Jack Horner and stop talking about Lavantil. Nobody else go talk about it. Just leave them there because they like it so. That is what they want. Or drop a bomb on them and beat them and just get rid of all of them. Joan, that is sad. That is sad. You want me to stop talking about Lavantil? Tell me why now. Why? Why?
It is part of our... It is part of our psyche. You can't say anything bad. So when Barra Jagdio say that all our systems collapsing, what we should be doing in Trinidad is showing him that we better than him. We don't make him.
To see if it's a problem. Right?
But
go up in our viewers and see that an abandoned building sitting there since 2011. Go up there and see that building unpainted for 15 years. 15 years. Go up there and see. You tell me to stop talking about Lavantil, please. Right? If I don't talk about it, who will talk about it? And I'm going to leave on this. I could guarantee you, Mr. Charles, I could guarantee you, 50% of Trinidad and Tobago now know where Chumaka Lavantil is because of the drive I've been on for 2 years now with respect to Chumaka Lavantil. And everybody in this show now knows nothing about Chumaka Lavantil. Now they know. Right? And Joan wants to stop talking about Lavantil.
Don't rest until Chumaka becomes the Jerusalem of Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. But Mr. Charles, it's always a pleasure, and we had you long in the village. We really appreciate you. Any closing words before you go?
Except all I would like to say is that all of us in our different ways have to face the truth about Trinidad, the problems we have. I could be right in some things and wrong in many things. Same with you, same with all of us. But I think there has to be honesty and a willingness to engage people and respectfully. I may disagree with you, but I agree with your right to have a different view from me.
Thank you.
And all of us are equal in Trinidad and Tobago, whether you're in the diaspora or whether you're a resident here or whether you are a migrant from Venezuela with children in Trinidad and Tobago. All of us are equal.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for taking the time. And we will have to bring you back a little more sooner than
no, boy, I just rile up the place too much.
No. We some good information here, man.
My good friend Diane and my colleague from Chumaka, Warren. Let's be friends. Let's remain. Let's, as the scripture says in the book of I can't remember the book. Let us reason together, friends. In goodness to one another.
Me and Anselm good. We go eat polo.
We good
together.
We good.
That's good. Keep it up.
We good.
Keep it up,
good.
friends.
Yeah,
okay,
man.
All the best.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. No. You see the thing about it is that we have to stop. I don't try to control nobody, how they feel, what they want to support, what they want not to support. Right? Yep. But anyway, before we go, right? Raj V, Ray Stout, John, Lana and Kapiza. Put closing comments in the chat. Raj V, Joan, Ray Stout, Lana and Kapiza. Put closing comment in the chat. You know, it really does make me, and that's the mantra now. When I go on certain station, oh God, I'm fed up and you watching this Lavantil thing again. When you go get off for that? If I stop, who go pick up the mantra?
I don't know Chumaka. I would get lost. I wouldn't find Chumaka. I would get lost.
I stop, who picking up the mantra?
But I just want to say that the issue is not a Chumaka problem or a Lavantil problem. It's a national problem in the country, where the issue with the solutions and the discussion we have in here is for all Trinidad and Tobago to benefit. You know, it's throughout the country. We need the community support. We need the educational support. We need all the necessary resources to be combined. To combine
all
together.
hands should be on deck, and people should be saying, We don't want to see what's going on in Laventille happen in Laventille rather than, you know, they like it. So, yeah, we could say they like it. So, but what are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? Right? Right? You go on a program, the program tell you, boy, we ain't going up there, boy, you mad? Going up there? Them people up there? Eh? Them people go kidnap you and all kind of thing. Right? Come on, man. When are we going to stand up for something? When are we going to stand up for something?
Like Will Smith stand up for his wife.
Yeah, Will Smith stand up for his wife. But you should not slap the fella.
Why?
But anyway, you know, anyway, we had a long one tonight. This was a marathon tonight, a good marathon.
Why you shouldn't have slapped the fella?
Now we go get into that next time.
Yeah, they were supposed to be friends, man. Something went wrong there, but we will deal with
that.
That
could be a long one.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll say good night, guys. I gotta take care.
So, Gary, you want to get closing comments before you go?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I think it was some good food for thought with the Honorable Rodney Charles and also our sister Nadia Khan Mohammed. And you know, we want to keep beating on the iron. You know, the local election should be around the corner sometime this year, I believe. So we want to get a few more other councillors in here, and you have to try and get a few more councillors also here from the PNM side, so we can hear what they have to say.
Yeah,
I sent an invite to the new Minister of Local Government, asking him to come in and discuss the issues and his plan of action. You know,
who's that now?
The new Minister of Local Government.
Who's that? Well, I don't know. Tell me who.
Far.
Oh, Lord.
Mr. Faris Alwal. You know, I sent him an invite, so they can't say we didn't invite him. So we invited everyone. So we want to keep the councillors coming in and discussing the issues that they are facing on their local community, and maybe somebody will listen and how they can resolve the issue. And nobody gonna shut up anybody inside here. You know, like they get shut up in the parliament. You know, so you get to speak freely. So anyway, I want to say thank everyone for joining us, and let's keep on trying to unite our people between the diaspora and the homeland. Good night, everybody.
All right, thanks. Thank you. Tommy?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, when I think about the discussion with Mr. Charles and him expressing fear as a preventative from some of the changes that we expected from the PPP, it made me sad. But anyway, before I continue on with that, Cynthia Ozick says, we often take for granted the very things that most deserve our gratitude. I know we say very often here in Trinidad that ingratitude is worse than obeah. Anyway, additionally, I want to say my condolences to Black's family, to Joseph James' family in New Jersey, and also to Richardson's family. These are some people that are close to me that are experiencing some trying times with the same situation. And additionally, I want to thank everybody for being in the village with us here tonight. It's been a marathon session, but I think it was very informative. Thanks to each and every one of you, and enjoy this life because nobody knows what tomorrow brings. A pleasant good night to each and every one.
Correct is right. Diana?
Okay, I'm going to just be short and say politician divides mankind into two classes.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Okay, go ahead.
A politician divides mankind into two classes, tools and enemies. Do not underestimate the mind that is made up. Never underestimate the power of the mind. Once you start using the power of positivity, you will see the changes. And most people don't want to be part of the process. They just want to be part of the outcome. But the process is where you figure out who is worth being part of the outcome. This is Diana Benskin, your poet and global ambassador, bidding you auf Wiedersehen until we meet again. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. From where I sit, this is it. The clock on the wall said that's all I like to say, but I've got to go. Remember, hard will beat talent when talent does not work hard. And for every 60 seconds of anger, use 1 minute of happiness. And Renee, I'm gonna play that song. Let me see.
Ray Stel's closing comments. Never regret a day in your life. Good days give you happiness. Bad days give you experience. Later, peoples. Capiza, you ask Capiza?
Yeah.
Capiza Limited. Good night, host Trinidad and Tobago. Sleep well, for tomorrow's another day. Rennie Mohammed. We're all one people under the same sun. Peace and love to everyone. Rajvi.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone. Something to remember, all suffering is man-made. We have all the resources in the world that one can live happy. Greed is what has us here. Be strong, we will overcome.
And Lana closing comments is wishing everyone a happy Shouter Baptist holiday 2022. Stay safe till we meet again in the village. Love you all. I think let me see if there's any more. I don't know. I think that's it. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Oh, Albert Montano says, love you all. Okay, so I'm gonna play we're gonna go out with Who's Gonna Guard the God by King Austin. That is a request by Renee. Rennie. I say Rennie. A hungry boy. Okay.
Within every system, there are rules and laws, and those who enforce them, obviously because love in the hierarchy is non-significant. So we find it necessary and highly important to gather our civil rights and surround this world. Just a few big filtered knights who got full control. But if it is we fear to trust and guardians be to protect us, question for the lads who went to guard these guards. The armies, navies and air forces, look the KGBs and the petty bosses, CIAs and Scotland Yards who went to guard these guards. The chiefs of security must be in a quandary. This question is the hardest of hearts. Who went to guard these guards? What a shocking factor to read in the news about one commander who could light the fuse. Oh, push the red button on a computer that could cause a chain reaction and damage the future. Using our treasuries, we have made them strong, creating authorities as we move along. But knowing power develops and absolute power corrupts. Question for the lads who going to guard these guards. The royalties and the government, look the many houses of parliament, the castle of the guards. Who went to guard these guards, yes? Question for the fanatics, advocating politics in the face of failing standards. Who went to guard these guards? Guardians of the cities, guardians of the air, guardians over land and seas, here and everywhere. Just like the steady beat of a metronome, we have become quite obsessed with the militant syndrome. To attain dependencies, We have conjured up a chain of ascendancies, reaching at the top. But if it is this whole charade, depends upon rank and grade. Question for the parts.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM.
Intelligent people, espionage got a heart. Who went to guard these guardians? Shall it be the gorillas, the religious ministers, or the professors from Harvard? Who went to guard these guards?
You're ready to start your own business, to turn that passion into a paycheck. All you need is a partner you can trust.